Chapter 1872. Old Zhang, can I ask you something? I don't have a ticket. I don't want a ticket. Then tell me. Do you have an anonymous ticket? Anonymous my ass. The Battle of Holy Glory is such an honorable thing. Every participant wants their name above their head. Why do you want an anonymous ticket? What's in your head? Zhang Tianyi opened his mouth and spat at Qin Zhao, making Qin Zhao bleed. If you don't have one, then don't be so agitated. I'm hanging up. Wait. A few days ago, a mysterious expert appeared in Vietnam and killed that flood dragon. Did you do it? What flood dragon? That's just an eel, okay? Don't you know that scaled primates can turn into dragons? So what? I don't think that eel is that strong. That guy is from the Jin River. Do you know that after that eel? No, after you killed the flood dragon, the river flooded. Luckily, it's just a tributary of the Mekong River. Why didn't you tell me earlier? If that guy is so important, why didn't anyone stop Blood Mary when she listed it as a red mission? You're too late. That's because I've never thought that anyone could kill it. It has the power of the river. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's a water god. In that tributary, it's almost impossible to kill it. It has endless power. Qin Zhao thought about it. The big eel's recovery seemed to be really unusual. It was clearly weaker than Qin Zhao and Tamamo no Mei. However, its regenerative ability was astonishing. Qin Zhao had smashed its head with a punch and it could still heal. This was more or less an immortal body. So it was because it had the power of a river. That river should be considered as its domain. If not for the Black Trident, Qin Zhao probably couldn't do anything to it. You took its beast core. What beast core? I don't know. Stop bullshitting. We've met a few times. I've long noticed that you have the aura of lightning water. That eel. No, the flood dragon is also lightning water. You must have noticed its beast core, Zhang Tianyi said with certainty. Give me the water beast core. You're going too far. I risked my life to kill that eel, yet you're asking for half of the spoils of war right now. I'm helping you clean up. Zhang Tianyi cursed. That beast core is to create a new river god. Otherwise, that tributary will flood so much land. Do you know how many people will lose their homes? Qin Zhao gritted his teeth. He'd thought that he'd gotten rid of a disaster for the people. Give me another 1,000,000 and donate it to the local victims. I can give it, but I don't have money. I'm accumulating good karma for you. Even if you're not afraid of karma, you should think about your family and children. The debts you owe will affect your family. Qin Zhao thought for a moment. Could Joseph have been punished because of his sins? Okay, I suddenly feel sad when I think of the victims. Is 1,000,000 enough? Should I donate more? Qin Zhao paused. Then he asked, can accumulating good fortune bring good luck to my family too? Zhang Tianyi was speechless towards this bastard who wouldn't release the eagle without seeing the rabbit. I'll have someone from the North American Embassy contact you. You just need to give it to them. Okay. Oh, do you need a secret code? For example, the Heavenly King covers the Earth Tiger or the pagoda suppresses the river monster. I don't have time to talk to you. I have business to do. Just then, Qin Zhao heard a voice. Thank you for the Manchu Han Imperial Feast. Love you. This disrespectful old thing was watching the live stream of an online streamer again. Old Zhang, I need to put this donation to good use. Give me the receipt. If I find out that the money went to some streamer, I'll go to Dragon Tiger Mountain to ask for it personally. Who do you think I am? I'm doing it with a learning attitude to promote Taoism. You're also doing it with a learning attitude, It's called respecting the content of the show. Since it's learning, of course I have to pay. If you live stream Subduing Demons, you'll definitely have more than 1 million fans. I want to, but if I dare to do that, I'll be sent to jail tomorrow for spreading feudal thoughts. I'm hanging up. Chen Zhao couldn't be bothered to continue arguing with Zhang Tianyi. Not long after he hung up the phone, a car entered the territory of the Mingyue villa. A square-faced man walked up to Chen Zhao. He emitted surging magic power. Hello, you must be the Mr. Chen that my ancestor mentioned. I'm Yang Guo. Chen Zhao looked at Yang Guo with a, "Are you fucking kidding me?" "I'm not joking." Yang Guo looked at Chen Zhao seriously. It was as if he had read Chen Zhao's unspoken words. It was definitely not his first time in such a situation. "Can you tell me what you've been through?" "Because of this name, I hid abroad," Yang Guo said gloomily. "I thought that if I could interact with foreigners, I wouldn't have the troubles in China." Chen Zhao suddenly felt a gaze from the sky. Looking up, he saw a huge eagle circling in the sky. "Yours?" "My ancestor gave it to me. He said that this eagle matches my name." Helplessness was also written all over Yang Guo's face. "Before I left, my ancestor said that I was still lacking and almost cut off my right arm." "He didn't give you another wife?" "Why do you think he didn't give me one?" "You're also called Little Dragon Maiden." "Dragon," Yang Guo said. "Take this and this check." Chen Zhao gave Yang Guo the water elemental internal alchemy and a $2 million check. "Come visit me when you're free." "Oh, you're welcome to come too." Chen Zhao really wanted to see if the legendary Little Dragon Maiden was also devastatingly beautiful. Yang Guo looked away. He'd already seen through Chen Zhao's dirty thoughts. "She's in China. Don't even think about it. I still have things to do, so I won't keep you." Hearing that he wouldn't have a chance to see Little Dragon Maiden, Chen Zhao instantly lost interest. He didn't even want to deal with Yang Guo anymore. He directly asked him to leave. Yang Guo glanced at the dragon head in the yard. "Mr. Chen, you're really daring to put a dragon head in front of your house. You're not Chinese if you're afraid of death. The giant dragon race is famous for seeking revenge for the smallest grievance. I can only say that I respect you. Goodbye." "Goodbye." Chen Zhao glanced at the dragon head in the yard. "Should I put it away?" "Forget it. If I put it away now, I'll look cowardly. Anyway, if the giant dragon race really dared to come, he would just have to slay them again." Chapter 1873. Chen Zhao went to HQ. In Maev's treatment room, Jig sat beside him, looking haggard. He stared at the sleeping Maev in the container with lifeless eyes. Seeing Chen Zhao come in, Jigs immediately stood up. "Mr. Chen." Chen Zhao nodded and walked to the container. Maev's injuries were very serious. She could even be said to be the most seriously injured patient Chen Zhao had ever seen in his career. No one else. Even with normal treatment methods. Even Chen Zhao couldn't do anything about it. When Chen Zhao had brought her back to HQ, he'd basically picked up a corpse. If she'd been sent to the hospital, she probably wouldn't even have made it to the hospital. "Mr. Chen, how's Maev?" "Not really good, but at least she's stabilized," Chen Zhao said. Actually, Maev's biggest problem was still psychological. However, this had nothing to do with Chen Zhao. After Chen Zhao healed her, Jigs would be responsible for her psychological trauma. Chen Zhao started draining the liquid in the container. Then, he took over the container and filled it with new water. Maev had already absorbed all the essence in the container. He had to pour in new perfect demonic crystals. Jigs couldn't help either. He could only worry on the side. Chen Zhao saw that Jigs would be very uneasy if he didn't do anything. Come and reconnect these devices, Chen Zhao said. Jigs immediately came to help after receiving the order. After changing the water, Chen Zhao said to Jigs, "Go rest. I think you're in a bad state." Chen Zhao looked at the container before him and the complicated devices around it. Could these instruments and the container itself be combined, instead of being put together in such a crude way as they were now? Just the messy wires were enough to make Chen Zhao very uncomfortable. Of course, Chen Zhao didn't understand machinery and technology. He needed to ask Jolik. He told Jolik his request and thoughts. As for whether Jolik could satisfy his needs, Chen Zhao wasn't sure. "Mr. Chen, how long will Maeve need to be healed?" "At least a month," Chen Zhao said. How much can she heal?" "Her external injuries will be completely healed," Chen Zhao said. "Can I really?" "The real problem is her psychological trauma," Chen Zhao said. "You can only rely on yourself." "I can't help." Jigs nodded in understanding. "You really should go and rest. Otherwise, it's very likely that she'll cure you but you'll collapse." "I will." Although Jigs said so, he had no intention of resting. Chen Zhao didn't force it. No matter what, it was his own business. Chen Zhao walked out and turned left. He found Jolik's warehouse. Jolik's lab was as messy as Ruan Faxbin's. Everything had been thrown away haphazardly. The amazing thing was that they always knew where the thing they were looking for was. But once someone was kind enough to help them clean up, they would go crazy, and they wouldn't be able to find anything. At this moment, Jolik was wearing a pair of sunglasses as he welded. He seemed to be doing some mechanical design again. Chen Zhao's arrival didn't stop Jolik's work. Until Jolik's welding was complete. Only then did Chen Zhao speak. "Jolik." "Ah. President, when did you arrive?" "I just arrived." "What are you doing?" "Giselle's new equipment," Jolik said. "When do you have time to help me make an instrument?" Chen Zhao told him his idea. "Can it be done?" "It's not hard. Actually, I just need to integrate those instruments and install them on the container. Then I'll do some cosmetic changes to avoid some safety issues." What Chen Zhao was worried about were the technical problems. Actually, there weren't any technical problems at all. Chen Zhao's request was simple. It was a combination, not an innovation. But he wasn't in a hurry to use it for now. Chen Zhao wanted to prepare some medical equipment for emergencies. After all, the spiritual world was a high-risk job. Chen Zhao stayed in the headquarters for 2 hours. Everyone was preparing for the next African trip. Chen Zhao would be a hindrance if he stayed. So, he left the headquarters early. "I wonder how Raymond is doing." Chen Zhao checked the time. There were still 3 hours until Fei Lai got off work. While he still had time, he went to Stephen's forest. When he reached the foot of the mountain, he saw 2 bicycles by the road. Weird. Why are there 2 bicycles here? Confused, Chen Zhao walked up the mountain. When he reached the top, he heard cries for help. "Help! Help!" Chen Zhao looked in the direction of the sound. 2 kilometers away, there were 2 kids hugging a big tree. They kept shouting and waving their hands, hoping to attract Chen Zhao's attention. But Chen Zhao pretended not to hear or see them. Of course, normal people couldn't see or hear them from such a distance. 3 or 4 crocodiles were sunbathing under the tree. The 2 kids weren't in danger anyway. Chen Zhao wasn't in a hurry to save them. "Reinen, it's useless. That man can't hear us. Jess, what do we do? I don't want to die here." Ever since the last time, Jess and Reinen had been hoping to get a picture of the monster. Then, they snuck here and hid in the tree with enough equipment and food. They planned to fight a long battle here. They thought that the monster should be amphibious and wouldn't climb trees. But soon after they climbed up, a group of crocodiles came. The crocodiles didn't notice them. Instead, it was because there was plenty of sunlight here. They were sunbathing under the tree. This lasted for 2 days. The crocodiles didn't leave completely. After one left, another group came. This also caused the two of them to be trapped on the tree. This caused the two of them to be trapped in the tree for 2 days. They ate, drank, and pooped on the tree. They couldn't sleep at all. They were afraid that they would fall down if they fell asleep. At first, they hoped that Frank would come again. But after 2 days, Frank still didn't come. There was no signal here at all. Their phones were all out of battery in 2 days. This made them sink into despair. Just then, the person came. But the tree they were hiding in was a bit off the road. As a result, the person didn't hear their cries at all. They didn't know that Chen Zhao did it on purpose. Chen Zhao didn't know who the two kids were. If they didn't have anything to do with Stephen, he would call the police after they went down the mountain. 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 1874. Chen Zhao's small world spread out. It covered more than half of the lake. There were clearly fewer crocodiles here. There were probably less than 1/10 of the entire lake now. However, the fewer they were, the harder it was to clear them out. Chen Zhao looked at the lake. Then he took off his clothes and dove into the water. Rhinan and Jess cried out again on the treetops in the distance. There were water monsters and crocodiles in the water. Going into the water was suicide. But the man clearly couldn't hear them. He still dove into the water. Soon, Chen Zhao sank into the water. He didn't come up again. It was obvious that the man must have been killed. He was either eaten by a water monster or drowned by a crocodile. Chen Zhao had indeed been bitten by a crocodile. Chen Zhao dove into the water and pinched the crocodile that bit him to death. Just then, Raymond sensed Chen Zhao's arrival and swam over. "Master, let's work harder and kill all these bugs," Raymond complained. "These crocodiles are too disgusting. That shoal Frank hasn't come for the past 2 days. If I see him again, I'll eat him." "Fine." Chen Zhao opened up the small world completely. Everything inside was within his perception. Then he started hunting the crocodiles. With Raymond and Chen Zhao working together, the hunting speed was even faster. As long as the small world enveloped them, the crocodiles had nowhere to hide. Chen Zhao and Raymond could accurately track the crocodiles' movements. They didn't even let the baby crocodiles go. Chen Zhao also destroyed their eggs. After 30 minutes, they finally cleared all the crocodiles. "Raymond, I'll come pick you up at night." "Okay." It wasn't convenient to move during the day. Rhinan and Jess in the distant tree suddenly saw the man who had disappeared from the lake for half an hour float to the surface of the water again. How is that possible? How is he still alive? Did he dive for a long distance and we didn't notice him? Impossible. We can see a large area from here. If he came up from somewhere else, he can't escape our sight. But that's the truth. A normal person can't stay underwater for more than 30 minutes without breathing. But there are water monsters and crocodiles in the water. Didn't they attack his mom? Rhinan asked, confused. Maybe it's because his luck is better. Hey, he's coming in our direction. Oh no, look below us. Just then, the 2 crocodiles under the tree climbed into the water. They had obviously discovered their prey. "Don't come over. Don't come over." Crocodile, there are crocodiles in the water. Suddenly, the man dived into the water again. Not long after, a patch of red rose from the water. It's over. That man is dead for sure. After killing the crocodile in the water, Chen Zhao used a rock to press the carcass to the bottom of the lake. If it floated up, it would be very disgusting if it was left to rot without any treatment. If they were left at the bottom of the lake, they would be digested by the biological system in the lake. They would truly return to nature. While Jared and Jess were in a mess, Chen Zhao had logged back in. When Jess and Rhiannon saw Chen Zhao, their faces were filled with astonishment. How could this guy still be alive? That's impossible, right? Where are the two crocodiles? Just then, the two crocodiles under the tree charged at him. Crocodile, the crocodile is coming towards you. At such a close distance, Chen Zhao could no longer pretend not to hear. On land, crocodiles weren't as slow as people thought. In fact, crocodiles had very strong sprinting abilities and speed. On land, they also had very fast short-distance explosive power. One crocodile charged at Chen Zhao first. Chen Zhao jumped lightly and grabbed the crocodile's tail. Then he threw it over his shoulder and smashed it onto the other crocodile. Both crocodiles were taken care of in one move. The two kids on the tree were dumbfounded. So simple. It ended just like that. Chen Zhao looked up at Jared and Jess on the tree. Are you two playing hide and seek? Chen Zhao pouted. Fine, I won't disturb you anymore. You guys continue. With that, Chen Zhao turned and left. After taking his clothes, he went down the mountain directly. Jared and Jess hurried down the tree, but when they reached the ground, Chen Zhao had already left. That man is so strong, Jared whispered. Let's leave quickly. It's too dangerous here. Steven, I just went to your lake. Aren't you being too irresponsible? I gave Raymond to you, but you let him starve. Raymond told me that you haven't given him food for 2 days. Aw. Sorry, it's my fault. Frank got into an accident 2 days ago. I forgot about it. Accident? What happened to him? He got into a car accident and broke his leg. He's recovering in the hospital. He can't get out of bed for at least half a month. Oh. Will there be any side effects? If he's well, probably not, Steven said helplessly. I'll have Famtis bring food to Raymond now. No need. I just cleaned up all the crocodiles for you. Later, have Famtis bring Raymond to my house. You're done. I confirmed it myself. It's very clean. Chen Zhao didn't plan on blaming Steven. After all, there was a reason. Steven didn't do it on purpose. Oh, 2 high school students were trapped at the lake just now. Luckily, I came, or they'd be food for the crocodiles. High school students. Frank told me before that he saw a few kids going up the mountain. He even made up a story about monsters. I was going to have him put up a sign at the foot of the mountain, but he got into a car accident and forgot about it. Oh, was Frank's car accident an accident? Probably. It's better to be careful. Some criminals will target the bodyguards first when they target rich people. That's true. What should I do? How about you bring Raymond to your house for a few days? Chen Zhao asked. As for traveling, tell Famtis not to leave your side. How about, don't even think about moving to my house. You're not welcome there. Do you have to be so stingy? Why are you so petty? We are brothers. Fuck you, I don't have a brother as big as you. Also, did you forget that you took tens of millions of dollars worth of wine from my house last time? I left a note. You even gave the note to little Larissa and made her put it in her mouth. That's your fault. You didn't teach little Larissa well. Chapter 1875. Here's 1,000 milliliters of Axayan Lee's blood. Ruan Fax Ben threw a blood bag to Nagran Vagris. Nagran Vagris held the blood bag and took a deep breath, even though it was separated by the material. Even though it was through the material, Nagran Vagris seemed to be able to smell the blood inside. He took an intoxicated breath and then put the blood bag away in satisfaction. That's right, it's the girl's blood. Then what about the thing we want? Nagran Vagris took out a rubbing from the safe. But this rubbing was not printed with a printer like everyone imagined. It was printed in a very ancient way and there were only a few pieces of paper. How did this happen? Ruan Fax Ben frowned and looked at the coarse paper in his hand. There was still ink on it. Many of the contents were very vague. In this era, even spiritualists wouldn't use such a primitive method of copying. In Ruan Fax Ben's opinion, Nagran Vagris was deliberately making things difficult for them. The Book of Prometheus is a few big stones. I can't hold a few stones and put them on the printer to print, right? I can only use ink to make a rubbing. Stones. Of course. Don't you know? The original version of the Book of Prometheus is a few heavy stones. But we've been to the British Museum. The exhibits there are not stones at all. That's fake, Nagran Vagris said calmly. The real Book of Prometheus is just a few stones. I have no reason to lie to you. Fine. Ruan Fax Ben did not want to argue anymore. He looked at Nagran Vagris and said, Count, do you know ancient Greek? It's very expensive for me to translate, and I don't like to be threatened. This time, Nagran Vagris said the ugly part first. After all, he had been threatened a few days ago, so he had to back down. Zhang Tianyi and the 23rd Blood Mary were too famous and illustrious. Even if he could not guarantee that they were related to these two, Nagran Vagris did not want to be enemies with them. But he was unwilling. After all, he was not a charity. He was not related to them and always used them to threaten him. No matter who the other party was, it was unbearable. So Nagran Vagris made up his mind not to back down. Tell me your conditions, Sir Count. I still have the same request. Help me kill the twin-headed ogre. Just then, Ruan took out a small bottle. After opening the bottle, he flipped it over. 2 small balls rolled out from inside. Ruan Fax Ben sprinkled some magic powder on the bowl. In an instant, the 2 balls turned into 2 huge heads. These 2 heads were several times the size of an ordinary person. The bloody head rolled to the ground. Nagran Vagris raised an eyebrow and went forward to check. It really was that hateful twin-headed ogre. They actually killed the twin-headed ogre. Nagran Vagris looked at Ruan Fax Ben in bewilderment. Did he do it? Or was it the power behind them? Nagran Vagris had been fighting this 2-headed ogre for more than 100 years. Neither side could do anything to the other. But in this case, Nagran Vagris had suffered a huge loss. Because in the past 100 years, he had lost hundreds of subordinates or family members. And almost all of them had become food for the twin-headed ogre. This twin-headed ogre was different from ordinary ogres. He would directly attack anyone he saw. This twin-headed ogre understood the rules of humans and would not attack ordinary people at all. Even if he ran out of food, he would at most attack the cows and sheep in the nearby farms. So even though the government knew of the existence of this twin-headed ogre, they ignored him. They were even happy to see Nagran Vagris and this twin-headed ogre fight each other. Of course, Nagran Vagris knew the sinister intentions of the government. But he had no other choice. This twin-headed ogre was not only powerful, but he also never left the mountains. In the past, he had led teams into the mountains to surround him. Most of them fell into his traps and died. Nagrand Vagras's strength was only on par with this twin-headed ogre. Neither had the strength to kill the other. This made Nagrand Vagras think of relying on outsiders to eliminate the twin-headed ogre. Of course, even if he made a request to Ruan Faxben and the others. He did not think that Ruan Faxben and the others could solve it. From his point of view, it would be best if he could attract the people behind them to make a move. But he did not expect that Ruan Faxben would directly throw this cunning twin-headed ogre's head in front of him. Nagrand Vagras thought again. If it was the people behind them. They had entered Edinburgh's territory without him noticing. This meant that the other party's strength was not to be underestimated. After all, Edinburgh was his territory. However, the other party was able to come and disappear without a trace. If they could kill this twin-headed ogre without a sound, then they most likely had the ability to kill him too. This made Nagrand Vagras wary of Ruan Faxben and the others. We have fulfilled your request. Now, it's time for you to carry out your duty. Ruan Faxben smiled at Nagrand Vagras. These two heads should be enough to intimidate the other party. You need to wait here for a while, Nagrand Vagras said. I need time to translate. This book of Prometheus was yours in the past. Have you not translated it at all? Do you know what the literacy rate was in ancient Greece? Does your question have anything to do with your translation of the book of Prometheus? It's 0.1%. In that era, ancient Greece had a population of millions, but only a few thousand people could read. Most of them were spiritualists, and only a few were nobles. Nagrand Vagras said, and those nobles only knew the simplified version of the ancient Greek language. I still don't understand. Ancient Greek characters contain a mysterious power. This mysterious power cannot be translated and can only be identified through specific magic. In the past, when I had the Book of Prometheus, I only translated the simplified version. Only after I had a breakthrough in my strength did I realize that I had neglected the true content of the Book of Prometheus. How long will that take? I'm not sure. Nagrand Vagras said, identifying the mysterious Greek language requires a huge amount of magic. Chapter 1876. Does that mean I could translate the Book of Prometheus as long as I master this recognition spell? Of course, it's not that simple. You also have to master ancient Greek. Recognition spells in ancient Greek are both necessary. Then give me a specific time. It's a long process, Nagrand Vagras said slowly. I can't rush it. But we won't be in England for long. I can't do anything about that. How about this? I'll inform my superior and ask him to invite you to our place to translate. Trust me, we can provide you with a stable and quiet environment. You can translate there without worry. Nagrand Vagras's face darkened. Ruan Facilis was using this again. But this time, Nagrand Vagras was helpless too. After all, he had received their payment. It was useless even if he wanted to go back on his word. Ruan Facilis had clearly predicted that Nagrand Vagras would bring up the past again. He didn't give him a chance to go back on his word. This translation is really complicated. There's no room for mistakes. 7 days at most. If you can't finish in 7 days, I can only call my superior. You're making things difficult for me. But you're making things difficult for me too. Ruan Facilis had a smile on his face. He knew people like Nagrand Vagras very well. If he didn't force him, if he wasn't forceful, he would be the one to take the initiative. Ruan Facilis knew very well that they wouldn't get Chen Zhao's support for this risky operation. Chen Zhao hoped that they would run into trouble halfway and then return dejectedly. But Ruan Facilis and Lisa would definitely be punished by Qin Zhao. After all, they were the ones who started this. The only thing they could do now was to borrow Qin Zhao's power. They could only threaten Nagran Vagris with groundless threats. Nevertheless, Ruan Facilis wasn't afraid that Nagran Vagris would really ask for proof. After all, Blood Mary of Wendao 23 and Zhang Tianyi of Dragon Tiger Mountain wouldn't be exposed. They definitely wouldn't give themselves away. Plus, Ruan Facilis was very confident. Nagran Vagris didn't dare to really ask for proof. I can return one dragon tooth to you. Hand over the money, hand over the goods. There's no reason to return the commission you've paid. Ruan Faxi was a veteran. How could he let Nagran Vagris go back on his word? If Nagran Vagris really dared to break the rules, Ruan Faxi would really call Qin Zhao and kill this old monster, even if it meant destroying everything. A week is too short, Nagran Vagris said. It wasn't that he didn't have a way, he just didn't want to pay such a huge price. Use recognition spell to identify the ancient Greek characters in the Book of Prometheus. It required too much mana. If Nagran Vagris really translated all the content in a week, he wouldn't be able to do it. In that case, he would become a cripple. If the other party offered a high enough price, he could even stay in bed for half a year. However, the price that the other party had offered was merely to meet his standards. Even if they did, they wouldn't be able to earn much. Why don't you let me bite this girl, and I promise to translate it for you in a week. Count, I don't like to joke around. I don't like to joke around either. The price you're offering isn't enough. What else do you want? Nothing. A month, Nagran Vagris said. It can't be shortened. 10 days, at most 10 days. Ruan Faxi only took a small step back. In the end, the two bargained for a while and agreed on 15 days. Nagran Vagris might be a noble, but he was very low-key most of the time. After all, to humans, he was an anomaly. He tried not to fight if he could. He also didn't want to have a grudge with others. Especially when the other party's identity was unknown and he was very powerful. Ruan Faxi didn't want to force him too much either. After all, he was just using his connections to intimidate others. Thus, both sides took a small step back. After Ruan Faxben left with his men, Nagran Vagris looked at the rubbing of the Book of Prometheus and immediately felt a headache coming on. Translating the Book of Prometheus was also a big problem. The ancient Greek characters were divided into simplified version and mysterious version. In ancient Greece, most nobles only learned the simplified version. The mysterious version required one to learn the simplified version and be proficient in special recognition spells. Then they could be translated with recognition spells. Before Nagran Vagris donated the original version of the Book of Prometheus, he had translated it once. But at that time, he wasn't strong enough and didn't have recognition spells. Therefore, what he translated was only a simplified version. Later on, he inadvertently mastered a special identification spell. It was only when he saw the original Book of Prometheus in the British Museum that he realized that he had missed out on something. But to activate the recognition spell, it required a huge amount of magic power. Nagran Vagris didn't think of translating it again. After all, it was a thankless task. But this time, he could only brace himself to translate. Famtis sent Raymond to Stephen's villa. Evan immediately dodged Raymond. He had seen Raymond before, but at that time, Raymond was just a small snake. Now, Raymond was more than 10 times his size. Even though the smell was similar, Evan still didn't dare to approach Raymond. Stephen came out to greet Raymond in his big pants. Raymond dashed out of the container. Stephen and Raymond greeted each other. Raymond, I'm sorry for starving you for 2 days. Raymond curled up into a ball and ignored Stephen, sunbathing by the pool. Judging from Raymond's appearance, he was clearly holding a grudge against him. Stephen changed the topic awkwardly. Famtis, go get Raymond some food. Stephen also wanted a pet like Raymond. Not only was he smart, but he was also unique. Stephen sat beside Raymond. Raymond's cold body made him feel very comfortable. Raymond's body was also very soft. It wasn't as hard as leaning against a rock. Famtis also brought Evan here every day. Stephen also liked to rest against Evan's body. But different from Raymond's body, Evan's body temperature was quite high. It wasn't suitable for him to lean on for too long. Especially in LA in October, the weather was rather dry and warm. In winter, there was basically heating indoors. Stephen had a lot of trust in E1 after interacting with her for so long. Of course, Evan was just a regular jaguar. He was still very different from the pets at home. Chapter 1877. Chen Zhao's family gathered together for dinner. Only Xian Li's seat was empty, but they still turned on the video call so that Xian Li could watch them eat. Xian Li, how's your progress? Not bad. We found the original owner of the Book of Prometheus, but because the book is in Ancient Greek, we're waiting for the translation. Ancient Greek. I know someone who knows Ancient Greek. Do you need me to contact her? Chen Zhao remembered that the 23rd Blood Mary knew Ancient Greek. If Xian Li needed it, he could help her contact her. No need. I want to find the golden apple step by step. Xian Li bit the apple in her hand. Is this your dinner? Chen Zhao asked. Is there a limit on that credit card? Do you need me to increase it? This is supper. Xian Li looked at the sumptuous dinner in the video and gulped. Uncle, you're tempting me to eat supper. It's okay. It's good to be able to eat, especially for a kid your age. Plus, if you get fat, I can personally arrange a weight loss plan for you. Sister Xian Li, do you have good food at your place? Jerlin asked. Xian Li's cheeks twitched. The worst thing about England was the climate and food. Edinburgh wasn't too bad. When they stayed in London, their jackets had to be waterproof. If it was a cotton coat, they would be a few kilograms heavier. As for English food, she just had sandwiches, burgers, fries, roast meat, and some vegetable salad every day. She'd even fantasized about trying world-famous food and looking up at the starry sky. But it was definitely not a beautiful experience of eating delicious food. Sister Xian Li, when are you coming back? Remember to bring good food for Jerlin. Jerlin looked at Xian Li in the video with big, watery eyes. Me too, me too. Little Larissa also shouted. She was still in Feilai's arms, but she was the most passionate about food. Little Larissa had learned many new words recently. She had learned a few common words. She had to admit that Larissa's talent in languages was better than Jerlin's. However, Jerlin's talent in swimming was much better than Larissa's. Did anyone bully you? No, uncle. Don't think the outside world is so dark. We haven't fought a single battle yet. Is it true? Chen Zhao asked casually. But Chen Zhao's tone gave Xian Li a lot of pressure. After all, Xian Li didn't know if Ruan and the others would report it to Chen Zhao. Actually, there was a battle, but I didn't do anything. That battle was to find and kill the twin-headed ogre. Riisa was the only one who made a move, so she didn't have the chance to intervene. Big sister Xian Li, Dad brought back a lot of eels a few days ago. They're very delicious. You have to come back soon, or else there won't be any left to eat. Little Gulin said very seriously. Lee remembered that when Chen Zhao brought Didi around the world and arrived in Edinburgh, Didi had told her that the water monster they'd encountered in Vietnam's Mekong River was a super large eel. Lee, give me your address. I'll mail you some cooked eel meat. Uncle. It's okay. Apart from the taste, the eel meat can also increase your magic slightly. Okay. At night, Chen Zhao rose into the sky again for a day of cultivation. But before long, Chen Zhao was harassed by the American Air Force again. The Americans seemed to have figured out how to find Chen Zhao. Recently, he had been discovered by the American Air Force about 1/3 of the time. As a result, Chen Zhao never flew into the sky at his house. He would often run a distance away. Moreover, he would be in a different location every time. In order to prevent the Americans from figuring out his location through his movements, Chen Zhao didn't plan his activity area at all. Every day, he cultivated in a random location. But being harassed during cultivation wasn't a pleasant experience. Hey, old Zhang. Why are you calling me at this time? It should be afternoon in China. Am I disturbing you? No, I'm just curious why you're calling me at this time. Don't you sleep at night? Remember the divine hit you taught me last time? I'm in trouble. What trouble? Going crazy. You won't go crazy with a divine hit, right? No, it's just that every time I use it, I'll be discovered by the American military satellites. Then they'll chase after me. Then what do you want to do? Shouldn't you provide after-sales service? I have a way, but I can't move. If I do, I'll be exposed. What way? Are you coming to the Battle of Holy Glory? That's boring. Cut the crap. Are you coming or not? Let me think about it. I have a lot of business. My business isn't business. Yes, you have business too, but I'm really not interested. I'm asking your subordinates to participate, not you. I won't let you participate even if you want to. Then I'll choose a few people. One organization can choose 10 people, Zhang Tianyi said. Okay. Chen Zhao planned to just find a few random people to deal with them. Oh, the Mekong River's flood is under control. Your money has been donated to the disaster area, Zhang Tianyi said. You can create a water god so quickly? Chen Zhao asked curiously. The main thing is to find a powerful monster and give it to him. At the very least, it will be able to replace the original flood dragon in a short period of time. However, it will probably take a few years for it to completely absorb the inner core. Are there a lot of these mountain, water, and earth gods in China? Not many, and there aren't any mountain or earth gods, only water gods, Zhang Tianyi said. The big rivers in China all have water gods, but they're all managed by monster organizations. Monster organizations. The only officially recognized organization is the Monster Alliance. There are also some smaller monster organizations, but you're not in China anymore. Do you plan on coming back to develop? Forget it, Chen Zhao said. With my power, I can be a monkey king in North America. If I go back to China, I might be taken care of by some old monster that pops out of nowhere. But can monsters coexist peacefully with humans? I'm curious. Why not? Didn't you also have a demon blade as your subordinate? Chapter 1878. That's right. Chen Zhao smiled. His way of thinking was a bit extreme. Since he could raise a bunch of demons, why couldn't other people live peacefully with them? Plus, he'd accepted the demon blade service. After interacting with the blade, Chen Zhao understood. Be it demons or demons, they all had their own feelings and thoughts. They weren't cold-killing machines. Their personalities were largely determined by their living or growing environment. How do I hide my aura? This is a method I developed myself. I call it heaven and man coexistence. It's to use a small world to hide your aura. Even when you're not moving, you can make your small world completely blend with the surroundings. Even the naked eye will have a visual deviation. How do I do it exactly? Chen Zhao asked. Have you tried to make your small world exchange spiritual qi with the outside world at an extremely fast speed? No. You can give it a try. Not everyone who has reached our realm can use this method because increasing the speed of the exchange of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth means that the pressure on the body will be greater. I've cultivated the spirit bash, so my body is stronger than ordinary spiritualists. You're an enhancer, so you'll definitely be able to do it. However, that old witch, Blood Mary, can't do it. Back then, I taught her step by step, but she couldn't learn it. Zhang Tianyi paused, then added, it's like dropping a drop of oil into a basin of water. The oil will be very obvious in the basin, but if the whole basin of water is continuously stirred, then the oil will disappear from the field of vision. This is a visual deviation caused by physics. For military satellites, which can detect high-energy reactions, it's also effective. Because the huge flow of spiritual energy of heaven and earth has disturbed an area, the military satellites can't detect you. That was the theory, but it wasn't easy to do. Chen Zhao found a region and tried this method. He started to speed up the exchange of spiritual qi. At first, he didn't dare to speed up too much. But he realized that it was just as Zhang Tianyi said. Chen Zhao didn't feel too much pressure. Then, he doubled the speed of the exchange of spiritual qi. He still didn't feel uncomfortable. 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Chen Zhao didn't feel uncomfortable until he was more than 10 times faster. Old Zhang, how many times can you speed up? I can probably accelerate to about 5 times, Old Zhang said. Chen Zhao calculated in his mind. His strong body was indeed more advantageous. It was about 15 times the normal speed. Chen Zhao only felt a little uncomfortable. He didn't need to experience extreme speed. Because Old Zhang's 5 times speed was enough. His energy was definitely higher than Old Zhang's, but his speed was still enough. Chen Zhao was hiding in the sky. At the moment, he was almost completely invisible. Of course, his invisibility wasn't complete. Actually, it was still visible to the naked eye. If the military satellites overhead happened to be watching him, he would still be discovered. But this possibility was even lower than the possibility of winning the lottery. How big is the Earth? Even if Chen Zhao waited for 100 years and gave the Americans a rough location, their military satellites might not be able to find him. Plus, Chen Zhao couldn't just stand there and wait. Even if there was a small probability that it would be discovered by the American military satellites. Chen Zhao could also change places, so Zhang Tianyi's method basically solved Chen Zhao's problem. Oh, Chen Zhao, you have an alchemist under you, right? You can ask your subordinate to make a magic tool that can hide your aura. When you face a strong opponent, you need to unleash your full power, but your aura might expose your true strength and make the opponent wary. If you have this magic tool, even if you unleash your full power, your true strength won't be exposed. Then the opponent will be numb. Have you used this before? Chen Zhao asked. I used it a long time ago, but after I broke through to Shangqing, I didn't have the chance anymore. Almost everyone in the spiritual world knows me. I don't even need to unleash my full power. My enemy will be on guard. Zhang Tianyi's tone was filled with disappointment. I don't know if my subordinate knows how to make it. It's not difficult, but the process is a bit complicated. If your subordinate says he doesn't know, he's definitely just brushing you off. You can teach him a lesson. Chen Zhao thought about it. With Ruan Faxi's personality, he would probably brush him off like Zhang Tianyi said. After a night, Chen Zhao learned heaven and man coexistence. After that, he wasn't harassed by the American Air Force anymore. It seemed like this move was really good. But Chen Zhao also discovered a problem. When he used this move, it would cause the air to flow violently. It was like a super typhoon. Heaven and man coexistence couldn't be used at home. Of course, it could also be used as a wind elemental attack spell. But for people like Chen Zhao and Zhang Tianyi, this attack spell was really useless. With their strength, this move was useless against enemies weaker than them or enemies of the same level as them. It was impossible to defeat a powerful enemy with just a storm. Of course, heaven and man coexistence's effect was the same as wind elemental magic. It actually had nothing to do with it. In fact, this storm was just a byproduct of heaven and man coexistence. Chen Zhao's current 1,000-meter small world could almost create a small super typhoon. It sounded powerful and could affect the weather in a small area. But in reality, this move was also useless against normal people. Chen Zhao's abilities weren't used to create disasters for normal people. Chen Zhao's heart jumped. Since Zhang Tianyi could develop a use for the small world, there might be other uses for it. Maybe he could develop other uses for it too. But just then, the sun rose. Chen Zhao put away God's strike and quickly descended. Because of the difference in altitude, he could see the sun in the sky, but it was still night down below. Because of the difference in altitude, he could see the sun in the sky, but it was still night down below. Using the remaining time, Chen Zhao moved around in the ocean for another hour. Only then did the sun rise. When Chen Zhao returned home, the underlings were already preparing breakfast. Seeing that Chen Zhao had returned, he immediately brought some prepared food to Chen Zhao. Chapter 1879. A while later, the family woke up one after another. Early in the morning, Portia came over. Portia, you're really early today. Chen Zhao glanced at Portia, who had rushed over. You didn't eat breakfast, right? Come and eat with us. Portia didn't stand on ceremony. She sat down and started eating. It wasn't her first time anyway. I don't think I told you to come so early yesterday. I'm here for breakfast. Everyone stared at Portia speechlessly. Portia was very calm. During the last interview, I maxed out my credit card to prepare the clothes for the interview. You don't have money on you. I only have enough money for gas, Portia said calmly. Do you want me to lend you some? Chen Zhao asked. No need. I plan to eat and drink at your place. I don't have any other expenses. Portia was determined not to borrow money from Chen Zhao. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to pay back the money she owed. To be honest, the cost of living in Los Angeles was really high. Portia decided to grit her teeth and persevere. What about your water, electricity, and insurance? The water and electricity stopped a long time ago, Portia said. Unlike in China, even if one owed water and electricity, it could usually last for a few months. The water company and electricity bureau wouldn't necessarily cut off the water and electricity. In America, if you owed water and electricity for a month, the electricity company and water company would make you go back to primitive society. Chen Zhao couldn't imagine that kind of life. However, he wouldn't pity Portia. To put it bluntly, Portia was reaping what she had sown. It was obvious just by looking at her crazy spending when she was in Japan. Moreover, it wasn't the first time Portia maxed out her credit card for an audition. Chen Zhao never approved of pursuing dreams without caring about anything. To him, the prerequisite for pursuing dreams was to support oneself first. Portia, are you sure you don't want me to lend you money? Boss, you sound like a demon. I won't lend you money again. Chen Zhao didn't borrow money for free. He had to pay interest. Portia's monthly interest on the money she owed him was $700 to $800. Of course, it was even scarier if the bank debt was included. Although Chen Zhao gave Portia a high weekly salary, Portia's salary was very high. However, with Portia's extravagant spending habits, she still couldn't make ends meet. In fact, with Portia's salary, she would be considered a high-income person in any country or region in the world. However, Portia still lived her life as a member of the Moonlight Clan. However, this was also the consumption concept of most Americans. Spend in advance, enjoy in advance. The price was a huge debt. Of course, Portia's spending couldn't compare to Chen Zhao's. But no matter what he spent, it was all in cash. Chen Zhao had a credit card, but he basically paid it on time. All of Chen Zhao's expenses were within the amount of his bank account. Of course, Chen Zhao would not criticize Portia. Because they had different ideas. Therefore, there was no right or wrong. It was the consumption concept that was nurtured by the environment of the two countries. Portia, help me make an appointment with Felwood Cisco. Ask him to come to Mingyue Villa. Oh, okay. Portia hurriedly wiped her mouth and stood up to call Felwood Cisco. But there was no response. After a while, Portia looked at Chen Zhao awkwardly. Boss. Can you lend me $20? I owe my phone bill. Chen Zhao was speechless. He took out $100 in cash. Boss, I want to charge my phone bill. How do I top up if you give me cash? Never mind. Chen Zhao helped Portia top up her phone bill with $100. Hello, Mr. Felwood. I'm Portia, Mr. Chen's assistant. Hello, Miss Portia. How can I help you? Mr. Chen asked you to come to Mingyue Villa today. Are you free? I'm free, of course I'm free, Felwood accepted without any hesitation. He did not care why Chen Zhao wanted to see him. Even if Chen Zhao wanted to chat with him, Felwood would come. Felwood came very quickly. Chen Zhao had not even eaten the table yet. Felwood, you haven't eaten breakfast yet, right? Come and eat with us. Then I won't stand on ceremony. Felwood had worked with Chen Zhao many times, so they were rather familiar. At the table, Felwood Cisco asked, Mr. Chen, may I know why you called me here? I have a friend who wants your company to build a new house for him. It's my honor. Felwood was very happy. Chen Zhao didn't just ask him to build his house. He even introduced his friend to him. This was a very valuable resource for him to build connections with. He'll be here soon. Wait a moment. Okay, I'm not in a hurry. Felwood nodded. Wait here for a moment. If you need anything, tell Portia. I need to do some morning exercise. Of course. Please help yourself. Felwood Cisco was no stranger to this place. After all, he'd built the house. Felwood came to the front yard and saw Chen Zhao swimming in the sea. The children, on the other hand, were playing without any worries. This was the life of a rich person. Mr. Felwood, would you like something to drink? Portia walked up and asked. I seem to have eaten too much for breakfast. Pour me a cup of black tea. Okay, please wait a moment. A while later, Portia came over with the black tea. Thank you, Miss Portia. Is that Mr. Chen's yacht? It's so beautiful. The boss still thinks that it's small. He has another yacht that's being ordered. It cost more than $300 million. Felwood Cisco gasped. That was way too rich. $300 million. It could probably be ranked among the top 10 yachts in the world, right? Although Felwood Cisco was considered a rich man, however, most of his assets were in his company. His engineering company was valued by the bank at around $200 million. He had 60% of the shares, so his personal assets were more than $100 million. However, his liquid funds were less than $5 million. He didn't even have $1 million in cash. He naturally couldn't spend as much as Chen Zhao. Not to mention the Hydra and the unfinished super yacht. The cars in the garage alone were probably worth more than $20 million. Felwood also knew that the house's AI butler system would cost tens of millions of dollars. Chapter 1880. After Chen Zhao finished his morning exercise, he apologized to Felwood. After all, he'd left the guest at home and went to exercise. He washed off the seawater on his body so that it wouldn't turn into salt crystals. "Mr. Chen, do you exercise so much every morning?" "I'm used to it," Portia thought to herself. This was already a small amount today. Usually, Chen Zhao's morning training was 10 times more than this. If he had nothing to do in the morning, he'd basically train his body. "Mr. Chen, are you used to this house? Are there any flaws in the design?" Felwood acted up again and asked how comfortable Chen Zhao's house was. Even the most perfect house had flaws. Even Mingyue Villa was no exception. When decorating the villa, try to reduce the sharp angles, Chen Zhao said. After all, there were children at home and they were active. Bumps and bumps were unavoidable. If there were sharp angles in the house, it would be a great threat to the children. Moreover, even Chen Zhao couldn't be absolutely sure about the unintentional injuries. "I understand. I will supervise the renovation of the villa by Mirror Lake." Felwood nodded. "Then, should Mingyue Villa be renovated? This is a flaw in our company. We have to take responsibility. We'll talk about it after Mirror Lake is finished," Chen Zhao said. "Are there any other requirements?" "It's best to add a larger elevator to the front yard to the beach. There are so many children and the small elevator isn't enough." This was a problem he hadn't considered before. Back then, there were only 4 people, pets, and underlings, so a 500-kilogram elevator was enough. But then they adopted 8 children. The small elevator wasn't enough at all when the children went up and down. Just then, Stephen and Famtis walked in. "Hi, Chen." When Felwood saw Stephen, he was stunned for a moment. Then, he froze. You're Mr. Stephen." "Stephen, let me introduce you. This is Felwood Cisco. He's in charge of designing and building the villa at Mirror Lake." "Hello, Mr. Felwood." "Hello, Mr. Stephen." Felwood didn't expect Chen Zhao to introduce him to Stephen at all. Who was Stephen? He was the #1 director in the world. His identity, his fame, and his influence made it impossible for anyone to ignore him. In particular, the movie Kidnapped, which was released at the beginning of this month, caused an uproar in Hollywood. It kept breaking all the movie records. At the same time, it also increased Stephen's influence. Recently, he even had a new title. Stephen was known as the man who could shake Hollywood single-handedly. Stephen may not be the most powerful man in Hollywood. However, those who were more influential than him were all CEOs of the Big Six. They were backed by the Big Six. That was why he had more influence than Stephen. Apart from their identities, they were just rich people. But Stephen was different. He relied purely on himself. "Mr. Felwood, did Chen tell you about me?" I've roughly explained it, but the specific design and construction of this project can only be carried out after my team of designers and I have seen the site. Of course, I understand. It was because Stephen liked the design of Mirror Lake Villa. Therefore, he hoped that Felwood Cisco, as the construction party, could also help him design and build a manor. Felwood also attached great importance to this project. After all, the employer this time was Stephen. If his manor was built, then as long as Stephen promoted it a little, then his company would be completely famous. He could design and build a new home for the world's best director. Just this alone would bring a lot of benefits to his company. The construction industry loved to design and build houses for famous people. Especially Hollywood stars. Their homes would often be noticed by the media. Even the construction party would receive attention. Mr. Felwood, are you free today? How about you come with me to my land to take a look? Of course. Felwood Cisco gladly accepted the offer. Chen, come with me, Stephen said. Why me? I don't know architecture. Can you give me some suggestions? There are so many kids at home. Portia can't handle it alone. In fact, Chen Zhao often let Portia take care of the kids alone. However, Chen Zhao was too lazy to go out, especially to Stephen's mountain. There was nothing there. He really didn't want to go. Then bring them all, Stephen said matter-of-factly. Then, he turned his head. Little Jerlin, do you want to see the lake on the mountain? Yes, I want to go. Jerlin immediately responded to Stephen's call. Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. Fine. There were more adults today, so they didn't need to drive an RV or MPV. Stephen also brought Famtis. Each of them drove a car. 1 or 2 kids were enough in each car. The few cars headed towards Stephen's land. At the foot of the mountain, everyone alighted. The kids were full of firepower. Chen Zhao carried little Larissa while the other kids ran up the rugged mountain road. The mountain wasn't actually very tall. It just hadn't been built yet. The road wasn't that bad. The journey up the mountain took about 10 minutes. After the road was built, it would probably only take 2 or 3 minutes to go up and down the mountain. When they reached the top of the mountain, Felwood Cisco said, Mr. Stephen, if you want to build the villa on the mountain, the road on the mountain can't be built in a straight line. It can either be a spiral route around the mountain or an S-shaped route. Which one do you prefer? It'll be a lot longer around the mountain, right? But it's safer to build a mountain road around the mountain. The S-shaped path will have a few big turns, so the speed will be limited. It'll also be dangerous when you turn. Can we build a straight path? We can't build a straight, steep road. The mountain is at least 1,000 meters high. The slope will be almost 40 degrees. Cars can't run up it. So a spiral road is the best. Indeed. Felwood Cisco nodded. Actually, even if we build a long spiral road around the mountain, it'll only take us 5 minutes at most. Also, we can enjoy the scenery on the back of the mountain through the spiral road. Mr. Stephen's forest is quite beautiful. It stretches for hundreds of kilometers. We can even build a small courtyard on the back of the mountain. You can also stop the car and rest in the courtyard when you're free. Chapter 1881. Where does the water come from? Felwood asked. Underground river, Stephen said. The underground river turned the mountaintop lake into living water. The rich nutrients in the river also flowed into the lake. It was precisely because of this that the lake was so full of vitality. Plus, the wind from the mountaintop made the entire lake sparkling. Portia was secretly amazed by the beautiful scenery. These rich people always took the best places. Felwood Cisco was also amazed. The scenery here was too beautiful. It wasn't inferior to Mirror Lake. However, due to the geology, LA had many lakes. Felwood wondered if he should look for a place with such beautiful scenery. Being able to live in such a place would definitely make one's body and mind happy. What's the lake called? I haven't named it yet, Steven said. At the same time, he looked at Chen Zhao. Chen, what do you think? Chen Zhao touched his forehead. I'll name it myself. I don't want to name it for you. If you're not satisfied in the future, you'll blame me. Steven thought for a moment and said, how about Blessed Lake? I think this is land blessed by God. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. These foreigners indeed had similar tastes. Chen, don't you think my place is prettier than your Mirror Lake? Ha! In terms of scenery, Mirror Lake isn't worse than yours. In terms of value, my Mirror Lake isn't as high above sea level. Me, Thalai, and our kids can gallop as much as we want. We can also raise cows and sheep and grow our favorite fruits and vegetables. For example, grapes. Can you grow such good fruits here? I have a wider field of vision here, and I can easily go hunting in the mountains. Darling, do you want to go hunting? You can come here to hunt in the future. My place is connected to the forest too, Chen Zhao said in disdain. We can also hunt in the mountains. We won't come here to hunt. How close is your place to the city? What wild animals? My place is different. It's very ecological. I can drive a yacht in my place. Can you move it to the lake on the mountain? It's the same no matter where. Steven was also anxious. To Steven and Chen Zhao, he was just like a kid who liked to run his mouth. In any case, whatever my family has, your family can't compare. The others looked at the two of them speechlessly. Felwood Cisco, on the other hand, stayed away from their argument. He was the most awkward one. He didn't want to offend anyone. After the argument, Felwood said, Mr. Steven, the best place to build the manor is over there. What do you think? Why over there? That's because it's the west side of the Blessed Lake, and the wind from the coastline blows from there. Therefore, in terms of wind direction, it's best to build a house facing the wind. When you're free, you can relax in the courtyard and enjoy the wind from the coastline. On the other hand, the natural light in that direction is unobstructed, and you can get abundant natural light all day long. That does seem to make sense. Steven nodded. My budget is $100 million. Everyone was stunned. Even Chen Zhao was shocked. Steven, are you crazy? This shouldn't cost that much, right? My request is to surpass Chen's Mirror Lake. Mr. Felwood, can you provide an outstanding design? Chen Zhao's face darkened. Felwood smiled bitterly. How could he answer? He couldn't say in front of Chen Zhao that he could definitely do it. I can only provide the best design I can. I can't give a definite answer. Steven, do you have so much money that you don't know where to spend it? At the beginning of next month, we'll get our first share of the box office. Chen Zhao's eyes brightened. How much can we get? Right now, we can only get the North American box office, Steven said. We still need to calculate the overseas box office. After deducting various taxes, the first North American box office should be $1.3 billion. We both have 30% investment, so it's around $400 million. Felwood Cisco and Portia were greatly provoked. Evil capitalists. Didn't that old asterisk Shoal Rasva get more? We can't help it. Not only is he one of the producers, but PLM is also the distributor. At least 50% of the movie's profits will go into his pocket. Chen Zhao and Steven each had 30% of the box office, but they couldn't really get 30%. The two of them were worth 30% of the profits, not 30% of the box office. How much can we get from the overseas box office? It should be higher than the North American box office, right? We can't get much from the overseas box office. It's not even as much as the North American box office. Why? Of course. The overseas box office is more complicated, especially PLM's distribution fees. According to the contract, the overseas box office takes up most of their revenue. We can get about $300 million each. Although their movie was just for fun, they were still very formal when they signed the contract. They would get as much as they should. Everything was done according to the contract. We have to go and blackmail that old asterisk Shoal Rasfa. Otherwise, I won't be satisfied. I think so too. Stephen nodded. Fellwood, let's stop here for today, Chen Zhao said. Bring some people to investigate the scene another day. Okay. Stephen, let's go to Rasfa's house now. Let's go. He stole a lot of wine from you. Let's go drink all of his wine cellar today. After Fellwood left the mountain, he parted ways with Chen Zhao's group. He also wanted to join in the fun, but his relationship with Chen Zhao and Stephen wasn't at the level where they could have fun together, so he still left dutifully. Portia watched as Chen Zhao and Stephen led the way. After arriving at Beverly Hills, they walked into a huge manor. She felt deeply hurt again. Their friend was indeed a rich man, a super rich man. Seeing Chen Zhao and Stephen, Paul left to welcome them. Paul, is Rasfa home? Mr. Rasfa is at the office. I'll call him now, Paul said. Tell him that if he doesn't come back in half an hour, Chen and I will drink all the wine in his wine cellar. Paul was helpless, but he couldn't stop Chen Zhao and Stephen. He could only pick up the phone and call Rasfa. Chapter 1882. Portia looked at the beach that was even longer than Bright Moon Beach. Portia cursed the evil capitalists in her heart again. Every inch of land in Beverly Hills was worth its weight in gold. The location of the beach was even higher. The price of such a long coast was probably more expensive than the construction of the entire Mingyue villa. This wasn't a remote area like Bright Moon Beach. There were no facilities nearby. The entire Bright Moon Beach was only $20 million. Of course, the real reason why Bright Moon Beach was so cheap was because of the sharks. Before Chen Zhao moved in, there were hundreds of sharks near Bright Moon Beach. Beverly Hills, on the other hand, was a combination of tourism, shopping, leisure, and high-end residential area. In addition, many celebrities and rich people moved in. The Oscars, Grammys, Golden Globes, and other events also increased the value of Beverly Hills. A 200-square-meter house here would cost $3 million. That was around $150,000 per square meter. In other areas, a house would only cost $100,000 to $200,000. As for Portia, she roughly estimated the value of this super mansion in front of her. Without a few $100 million, it would be impossible to buy it. Portia was shocked once again. Then Rasfa returned. He saw Chen Zhao and Stephen moving the wine out. Paul tried to stop them, but Rasfa was furious when he walked in. You two are too much. Rasfa roared in exasperation. I'm still in a meeting. Isn't that perfect? We gave you a reason to slack off, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Put my wine down, or I'll have Paul called the police. Fuck you, you stole all this from Chen. Don't think I don't know. You say it like you didn't do it, Rasfa said, unconcerned. Paul, go prepare some food for us, Chen Zhao said. Paul left this troublesome place as if he was escaping. The three of them couldn't afford to offend him. Chen, you usually don't come when I call you. Why did you come today? I'm eating from the rich, Chen Zhao said. You earned so much. You have to pay something. That's right. Take this wine as payment. Stephen held 2 bottles of purple brew in his hands. You say it like you earned very little. Rasfa rolled his eyes. All the accounts were from their company. Of course, Rasfa knew how much money Stephen and Chen Zhao had. But we still earn less than you. Portia hated these 3 evil capitalists very much. Rasfa looked at Portia, who was standing at the side. Who is this young lady? My personal assistant, Portia. Find a place to play. After Portia left, Rasfa came over immediately. Chen, did you fuck her? Get lost, old pervert. The 3 of them sat on the beach, watching the children playing on the beach. Rasfa and Stephen already knew that Chen Zhao had adopted 8 children. But this was the first time they had seen it. Chen, what were you thinking? Why did you adopt so many children? It was a spur-of-the-moment idea. Do you regret it? I don't regret it. It's just that sometimes I feel tired, but I also feel a sense of accomplishment. Let them come to my place to play when they're free, Rasfa said. Your place is too remote. What fun do you have here? Watching you play with female celebrities. Aren't you afraid that Chen will kill you? Stephen rolled his eyes. Come to my place after my manor is built. You're moving. Rasfa still didn't know that Stephen had bought that land. Don't you know? Stephen bought a few mountains. There's a very beautiful lake at the top of one of them. He's planning to build a new home on the lake. Really? Is that place nice? Chen said it's very nice. Stephen could only see the scenery, but he believed Chen Zhao. Since Chen Zhao said that the blessed lake was very nice, it must be. After dinner, Chen Zhao and Stephen left with the children. Famtis, it's night. Be careful when you escort Stephen. Okay, Chen. Bye. Bye. Portia helped to drive. The 2 of them took the children away in batches. When Chen Zhao and Portia returned to Minghua Villa, Fei Lai also arrived home. Chen, where did you take the children to play today? Stephen's new land, Chen Zhao said. I introduced Felwood Cisco to Stephen. In the afternoon, we went to Rasfa's house in Beverly Hills. Boss, what's Mr. Rasfa's business? He's the chairman of PLM. Portia's eyes widened. He's the chairman of PLM, one of the big 6. He's also a major shareholder. Rasfa's business was very complicated. His total assets were probably in the tens of billions. Of course, he was most famous for his identity as the chairman of PLM. Mr. Yang, won't you consider it? We can provide you and Mount Longhu with a generous sponsorship fee. Vestana looked at Yanghua sincerely. I'm sorry, I'm just the person in charge of Dragon Tiger Mountain's Overseas Affairs Office. Miss Vastana, if you want to hire one of our brothers from Dragon Tiger Mountain as a consultant, you can contact our contact person. If you don't have a way to contact them, I can provide it. Vastana's expression darkened. In order to rope Yanghua in, she had made up her mind to hire him. If Yanghua could accept the invitation of the psionic ability team and become their special consultant, he would be able to become their special advisor. It meant that they could be connected to Dragon Tiger Mountain in China. Vestana didn't know about Dragon Tiger Mountain in the past. But after coming into contact with the spiritual world, she finally understood what Dragon Tiger Mountain represented. It was a super sect like Mount Everest, the highest peak in the world. And their leaders seemed to be the strongest in the spiritual world. Vestana felt that he was powerful because he was from China. Dragon Tiger Mountain and their leader were definitely stronger than him. If she could get the support of Dragon Tiger Mountain and their leader, then the psionic team's power would increase greatly. For this, she was willing to pay a high price. But Yang Guo didn't care at all. He just brushed her off. Every time Westana saw Yang Guo's businesslike attitude, she wanted to beat him up. But she also knew that she couldn't beat Yang Guo. Even if she could, she didn't dare to. Dragon Tiger Mountain was a super sect that everyone couldn't ignore. Westana dared to lead the psionic team to fight against the supernatural organization led by Chen Zhao because she knew what Chen Zhao and the organization were worried about. But Dragon Tiger Mountain was different. With one order, they could make the psionic team fall apart. Chapter 1883. Longhu Mountain's North American resident office was actually an office rented in an old neighborhood. There was a sign hanging on the door, Longhu Acupuncture, Massage, and Massage. Yang Guo's office was a single room with a bathroom. The rent was less than $1,000 a month. The windows and doors were closed. When Yang Guo smoked, the whole room was filled with smoke. Westana had been here a few times, but she still couldn't get used to the environment. Yang Guo leaned lazily on the boss's chair. Miss Westana, I've told you many times that if you want to cooperate with Longhu Mountain, I'd like to express my gratitude and welcome. I can give you the phone number of the person in charge of Longhu Mountain's Foreign Affairs Office, but I don't have the authority to accept cooperation intentions on my own, so you should contact and consult Longhu Mountain's Foreign Affairs Office, Yang Guo said lazily, or is my English bad? You don't understand what I mean. Westana sighed. She had tried to contact Longhu Mountain's Foreign Affairs Office directly. But what was the difference between the psionic team and Longhu Mountain? A remote African primary school went to Harvard University and said they wanted to cooperate and exchange. Was that even possible? Of course Harvard would ignore them. Longhu Mountain's Foreign Affairs Office's attitude was similar. They said they would pass on the message to the Divine Master and thank the psionic team for their friendship. It was a formal reply, but they threw Westana's contact information into the trash can. Only then did Westana remember to contact Yang Guo first. Yang Guo was from Longhu Mountain after all. If she could get Yang Guo, it would be easy to deepen the relationship with Longhu Mountain through him. Moreover, it was said that Yang Guo was also a powerful spiritualist. Westana also found out through the intelligence network that Yang Guo was a disciple of the Dao generation in Longhu Mountain. The Dao generation was quite high in seniority. It was said that the next Divine Master would be chosen from the Dao generation. So once the next Divine Master took over, Yang Guo's status would also rise. This was also the reason why Westana had been making promises time and time again, regardless of the cost. As long as Yang Guo was willing to come to the psionic team as a special consultant, Westana was willing to offer many conditions. From personal benefits to resources, she would give Yang Guo whatever he wanted. At that moment, Yang Guo stood up. Westana saw Yang Guo's reaction for the first time. She thought Yang Guo had accepted her invitation and became excited. Westana, it's time. Time. I'm off work. Sorry, I should go. Westana was a little frantic. She felt that facing Yang Guo was similar to facing Chen Zhao. It was both unbearable. However, the two of them were completely different extremes. Chen Zhao was so domineering that no one could touch him. If he did, he would get hurt first. Yang Guo, on the other hand, was the kind of person who would laugh and let you disturb him for the entire afternoon. He was like a bouncy ball. No matter how they harassed him, he just listened with a smile. I'm glad you came. You're welcome to come again. Westana could only leave gloomily. As she walked out of the dark and damp corridor, a woman in a cloak walked past her. The woman's cloak was in tatters, and her entire body and head were wrapped up tightly. Vestana glanced at the strange woman in astonishment. The woman walked to Yanggua's office and knocked on the door. "Come in. Mr. Yang." "Hi, Layli, you're here. How have you been?" Yanggua greeted her. "Not very good." The woman's expression was a little ugly. "I need treatment." "Okay, wait a moment. I'll make some medicine for you." Yanggua stood up and opened the cabinet. He took out some strange ingredients. After Yanggua made the ingredients, he threw them into the juicer to make juice. In the end, a cup of black liquid flowed out of the juicer. "It's done. Take it." Yanggua handed the black liquid to Layli. Layli put the cup to her mouth and immediately felt a pungent smell. However, she resisted the nausea and forced herself to drink all the black liquid. Layli felt her stomach churn several times. This made her retch a few times. Then, the medicine started to take effect. Layli's breathing gradually calmed down. "Layli, you seem to be acting up more and more frequently." Yanggua looked at her seriously. "Did you use that power in your body again?" "I'm in trouble. Someone wants to catch me." "Someone wants to catch you?" "Yes, and they're very strong. Even though I used the power in my body, I still couldn't beat them." "Who?" "I don't know. It sounds like Spanish from their language." "People from Spain." Yanggua thought about it and said, "You can't beat them even if you use the power in your body." "Yes, they're very strong," Layli said bitterly. "Also, they seem to know my ability and are targeting me. I can't fight them at all." Yanggua and Layli were old acquaintances. Thus, Yanggua wanted to help Layli solve her problem. Actually, the best way was to send Layli back to China, as long as she was on Mount Longhu. As long as Layli was on Dragon Tiger Mountain, no one would be able to do anything to her. However, the key problem was not on Dragon Tiger Mountain. Dragon Tiger Mountain did not reject outsiders. For example, Zhang Tianyi and a few other foreign students. There were also a few foreign outer disciples in the mountain. As for Layli herself, the power in her body strongly rejected the East. If he really sent Layli to the East, she would probably go berserk on the plain. Yanggua scratched his head and said, "I'll call Grandmaster and ask if he has any solutions." As Yanggua spoke, he picked up the phone and dialed Zhang Tianyi's number. "Hello, Grandmaster. It's me, Little Yang." "Gua do you know what time it is?" Zhang Tianyi let out a deafening roar on the other end of the phone. The entire Dragon Tiger Mountain trembled under Zhang Tianyi's anger. When the Celestial Master was angry, dragons and tigers roared. "Oh no!" Yanggua cursed inwardly. He forgot that it was only 4 or 5 in the morning in China. "Grandmaster, I'm in trouble. My friend and I are being hunted. It's the friend named Layli I mentioned to you last time." "Being hunted? Who's after you?" "I don't know. They speak Spanish. Why don't you take them back to the mountain and hide?" "I don't need to call you if I can go back. You know Layli's situation. The angel blood in her is very against the land of China. Then there's nothing I can do. I can't let these old bones run over to the Americans. Grandmaster, please think of another way. How about I ask your wife to help you?" "No, no. Please don't." Chapter 1884. Do you have to be like this? What's wrong with your Xiaolongnu? She has a good body, looks, background, power, and bloodline. What are you not satisfied with? My ancestor, can different species combine? Yonggwa cried in pain. Of course. Why not? Don't you see all sorts of mixed bloods? Why are you fighting with them? The problem is she. Every time she gets excited, she transforms. You don't have to tell me about your relationship. Forget it. Let's not talk about her. My friend and I are like this. You have to think of something. How about asking my senior Dowie to help me? You're thinking too much. Your senior Dowie is a candidate for the leader. He's the young leader of Dragon Tiger Mountain now. What do you have to ask him to help you? You can't just watch my friend and I die in a foreign place, right? Do you remember that Chin guy I told you to find last time? Go hide in his house. Him. Can he? Yongguo was doubtful. Didn't you go to his house? Didn't you see the dragon head in front of his house? That dragon was really slain by him. Yonggua asked in surprise. Yonggua had thought that Qin Zhao had gotten a dragon head to show off. He didn't think that Qin Zhao had really killed the dragon head. If he really has the ability to kill a dragon, he should be able to protect my friend, Yonggua murmured. With your lousy skills, everyone is better than you. What's there to complain about? Zhang Tianyi's tone was filled with disdain. Ancestor, I'm a genius of Dragon Tiger Mountain, okay? There's no one in the younger generation who's more talented than me. Good my *SS. If you can, go kill a dragon for me to see. It's not like I haven't seen a dragon before. Yonggua pursed his lips. In fact, his wife's nickname was Little Dragon Maiden, and her true form was that of a Western dragon. Yonggua had seen his father-in-law. Back then, he'd been beaten up by his father-in-law for marrying Xiao Longnu. Yonggua felt that he could withstand his father-in-law's beatings. If he worked hard for a few more years, he might be able to kill a dragon. The dragon head in his yard is different. What's different? Forget it. There's no point in telling you. You don't understand at all. That Chin fellow is many times stronger than you. If I work harder, I can also catch up to him. I hope you can. Zhang Tianyi didn't believe it. Zhang Tianyi and Qin Zhao had sparred before. Although both sides were holding back, there were still some exchanges. However, at that time, it was only a spar, and no one used their true abilities. But Zhang Tianyi knew that if they really fought, he probably wouldn't be able to beat Qin Zhao. Of course, Zhang Tianyi's ability didn't lie entirely in his cultivation, but in his spells. In particular, he had the ability to subdue demons and devils. Zhang Tianyi was confident he could even deal with a great demon like Tamamo no Mei. Even if he didn't kill Tamamo no Mei, he would at least be able to seal her. And Yonggua's talent was indeed rare in this world. But Yonggua could only reach the same level of cultivation as her. But Qin Zhao was different. He already had his own path. In the jargon of Taoism, he already had his own Tao. He hung up the call with Zhang Tianyi. Yonggua turned to look at Rayleigh. Let's go. I'll take you somewhere. Suddenly, a huge impact came from behind without any warning. Yonggua's back was facing the window, so the impact sent him flying out. However, in the instant that Yonggua was sent flying, he threw out 3 talismans. Green light, white face, red spirit. Yonggua quickly made a hand seal. The 3 talismans instantly turned into 3 strange beasts of different shapes, green, white, and red. The 3 beasts were also demons, but they were different from Japanese Shikigami spells. The 3 beasts actually had nothing to do with Yonggua. Moreover, the 3 beasts before him weren't in their original forms either. Their original forms were extremely powerful. They borrowed their power through talismans and spells. Green light was in the form of a flood dragon, white face was a white tiger, and red spirit was a red crane. Don't attack. Let's go. Yonggwa pulled Rayleigh and turned to run. The person who'd ambushed him was very strong. Yonggwa didn't want to fight them here. Especially since Rayleigh was still here. If Rayleigh couldn't hold back and attacked again, it would be even more troublesome. Rayleigh was pulled away by Yonggwa. The three beast clones were left to deal with the person who'd ambushed them. It's that group, Rayleigh said. Is it them? Yes. The person who ambushed you just now is an awakened. He seems to be able to detonate anything. More than one person. Yonggwa suddenly stopped. More than one. As soon as he said that, someone blocked their way. It was a woman with waist-length hair wearing tight clothes. The woman held two swords in her hands. The long sword in the woman's hand was constantly making fancy movements. Be careful. This woman is also very strong, Rayleigh warned. She knows a special type of cloning spell. As soon as Rayleigh finished speaking, half of the long-haired woman's body emerged from the shadow. That half of the body was the long-haired woman's appearance, but it was completely black and her facial features couldn't be seen clearly. At the same time, the person who'd been entangled by the three beast clones also came out, blocking Rayleigh and Yonggwa's path. You too, this humble one is Longhu Mountain's Divine Master Sex Dao Generation Yonggwa. I hope you too can give our Divine Master Sex some face. This humble one will be very grateful. Yonggwa actually knew that it was very unlikely to use Longhu Mountain's Divine Master Sex name to scare off the two attackers. But it could occasionally work. Some people just fell for it. Although Yonggwa's tone was weak, he was still 120% vigilant. He turned around and looked at the two people in front and behind with a serious expression. The person chasing them suddenly charged at Yonggwa and Rayleigh. He was extremely fast. He ran on all fours like a wild beast. However, his appearance did not change at all, not even a little bit. Beast-like technique. Yonggwa suddenly took out a bell and shook it. Rumbled that it should have been a clear sound. But Yonggwa shook it like a cannon. The surrounding walls collapsed. The person using the beast-like technique was directly hit by the sound of the bell and was sent flying. You'd better not act recklessly. The bell in my hand is a treasure of Longhu Mountain's Divine Master Sect. If I release it at full power, you too will die without a doubt. Suddenly, a black shadow crept up from under Yonggwa's feet. In the next instant, the black shadow transformed into a human figure that tightly entangled Yonggwa. The long-haired woman attacked. Chapter 1885. This shadow could be controlled by the long-haired woman. And just like the main body, it could move as she pleased. Yonggwa tried to form a hand seal several times, but couldn't close his hands. The beast-like man on the other side lunged at him again. Yonggwa saw that the enemy was about to succeed. Suddenly, Yonggwa's right arm fell off. The shadow had originally pierced through Yonggwa's armpit and latched onto his chest. As Yonggwa's right arm fell off, the shadow couldn't help but loosen. The moment Yonggwa broke free, his left hand grabbed his right arm, which turned into an edgeless greatsword. Heavy edgeless sword. Bam! The man on the other side was sent flying. The long-haired woman's shadow tried to latch onto Yonggwa again. But after losing his arm, Yonggwa's strength increased instead of decreasing. He turned around and swung his sword. The shadow was smashed to pieces. The long-haired woman didn't slow down, still stabbing her sword towards Yonggwa. The long-haired woman's attack was swift and fierce, her two swords sharp. But Yonggwa's greatsword was as heavy as Mount Tai, as powerful as a tidal wave. The long-haired woman couldn't block a single attack, the great sword had already landed on her. But as the great sword struck her, it also shattered like a shadow. The long-haired woman reappeared from the shadow in a dark corner. Yang Guo looked at her. Although she was Caucasian, she used a Chinese martial arts style. This martial arts style wasn't martial arts, but rather martial arts combined with spells. There were close combat martial arts, as well as strange and ever-changing spells. This woman's martial arts style was full of strangeness, impossible to defend against. On the other side, the beast-like man also stood up unscathed. "Let's go," Yang Guo told Rayleigh in a low voice. They couldn't stay here for long, both of them weren't easy to deal with. Rayleigh was a bit confused. Yang Guo was clearly suppressing them, why did he run? Sensing Rayleigh's confused gaze, Yang Guo whispered, "My great sword has never been sharpened before, it can only protect myself, it can't hurt the enemy." Rayleigh still didn't understand. What difference does that make? Yang Guo couldn't explain it to Rayleigh at a time like this. "Follow behind me, we're going out." At this time, the long-haired woman and the beast-like man attacked again. Eek! Suddenly, a sharp sound came from above. A gray shadow descended from the sky, the sound like a sword, the momentum like an arrow. The long-haired woman felt a sharp pain on her left shoulder, her shoulder had been scratched by Yang Guo's eagle. The long-haired woman instantly fell to the ground. Yang Guo grabbed Rayleigh's hand and walked past her. In an instant, Yang Guo transformed the sword back into his right arm and reattached it to the stump. At this time, the eagle turned around and Yang Guo reached out to pull it back. The condor actually pulled Yang Guo into the air. Yang Guo then grabbed Rayleigh and flew into the air as well. Rayleigh's face was full of surprise. The eagle looked bigger than an ordinary eagle, but she didn't expect it to be able to carry two adults in the sky. The long-haired woman and the beast-like man could only watch as Yang Guo and Lily left. There was nothing either of them could do about it. Phew. Those two fellows are really hard to deal with. Yang, you're clearly stronger than the two of them. Why are you running? Yang Guo smiled bitterly. I practice the Taoist's yin and yang dual life. In my normal state, I'm yang. In this state, my defense is 100 times that of a normal person. It's almost indestructible. But there's a flaw, and that is that I can't kill. Look at the sword that my right arm has transformed into. The sword doesn't have a blade. Yang Guo paused and then said, "If I really want to kill someone, I have to use the yin death state." Then why don't you use the yin death state? Do you think that state is something that can be changed whenever you want? Yang Guo shook his head. The yin death state will cause me to lose my mind. If my grandmaster isn't here, I wouldn't dare to use the yin death state at all. Only the grandmaster's aura can suppress my loss of mind. So, unless it's necessary, I don't dare to use the yin death state. Rayleigh nodded. It was unknown whether she understood or not. Although Rayleigh had the bloodline of an angel, she didn't have much contact with the spiritual world. She had known Yang Guo for a few years, and every time, she would ask Yang Guo for help to suppress the bloodline in her body. Yang Guo also rarely talked to her about the spiritual world. Your big eagle is so strong. What breed is it? Yang Guo rolled his eyes. Who knew what breed it was? In any case, it wasn't an ordinary eagle. In fact, it was a demon that hadn't transformed. It was given to him by Zhang Tianyi. He said that only with a big eagle would he be complete Guo-er. Fortunately, it was night. No one would see the two flying in the sky. Where are we going now? There's someone in Los Angeles who can protect us. Who? He's also my compatriot, a Chinese. Children's laughter could be heard from the front yard. Fei Lai was teaching little Larissa how to walk. Little Larissa's athletic ability was weaker than little Gerlin's. In 5 months, little Gerlin could already run, jump, swim, and climb trees. Little Larissa still staggered and followed Feli's steps. Good, darling. Very good. Feli stood on the other side and clapped her hands to encourage little Larissa. Little Larissa stood up with difficulty and took a step with difficulty. However, her other foot was left behind and she couldn't move forward. After a few tries, little Larissa finally moved her other leg. She couldn't maintain her balance and fell to the ground. Nevertheless, little Larissa stood up firmly, not discouraged at all. Chen Zhao sat on the ground and put his palms in front of him. Wearing boxing gloves, Crow kept punching Chen Zhao's palms. Very good. Left fist, right fist, right fist, left fist. Continue. Speed up. Raise your leg. Crow's attacks were very fierce. He used both his hands and feet, but he still couldn't break through Chen Zhao's defense. Under the full attack, Crow was already sweating profusely. Nevertheless, Crow still persisted. Crow was introverted, but this also made him stubborn and persistent. Chen Zhao didn't tell him to stop, so he kept attacking. Chen Zhao glanced at the sky and then waved his hand. Okay, you can stop now. Just then, the eagle descended from the sky with Yanghua and Lily. Lily looked at the men, women, and children in the manor. Was this the place that Yanghua said could protect them? On the other hand, Yanghua had a friendly expression. Chen Zhao, hello. Chen Zhao ignored Yanghua and turned to look at Lily. This woman's body has an aura that makes me very uncomfortable. Lily looked at Chen Zhao. She also felt uncomfortable. The pets in the house also felt uncomfortable or disliked Lily. Just then, Samuel jumped onto Chen Zhao's shoulder and looked at Lily. Descendant of angels. The moment Lily saw Samuel, a huge pair of wings spread open on her back. Chapter 1886. A holy aura emanated from Raleigh. Her gaze toward Chen Zhao was filled with hostility. Even she didn't know why she had such a feeling. However, Samuel only glanced at Raleigh and then lost interest. Chen Zhao also had the same feeling toward Raleigh. It was like she was his natural enemy. After all, he had demon blood in him too. However, one only needed to be rational to know that this was hostility from the bloodline. He wouldn't have any special feelings for her. Raleigh, why are you using this power again? Yanghua asked, frowning. Just now, when facing danger, Raleigh had resisted the urge to use her angelic power. But now, facing Chen Zhao, Raleigh actually released this dangerous power. Put your wings away, Chen Zhao said indifferently. If you want to stay here as a guest. Raleigh took a deep breath and suppressed the uncomfortable feeling in her heart. Before Raleigh and Yanghua arrived, Chen Zhao had received Zhang Tianyi's call. Chen Zhao cursed silently. He'd just gotten Zhang Tianyi's heaven and man coexistence and owed him a favor. But now it was time to return the favor. And an angel, a mixed angel. She was the nemesis of their entire family. After Raleigh put away her wings, the atmosphere relaxed. Is this your little lover? She's the same as Yanghua in the novel. Chen Zhao glanced at Raleigh and then conversed with Yanghua in Chinese. What? I have nothing to do with her. Neither does Yanghua in the novel. Did you forget what Yanghua said? Once you meet Yanghua, you'll regret your whole life, Chen Zhao said, gloating. But you have a good chance to enjoy having 2 lovers. Spare me, please. If my wife hears this, she'll kill me. Oh, where's Xiaolongnu? You only brought your little lover. You didn't bring your wife. I don't want to talk to you. Falai brought Raleigh to wash up and change. She looked like an African refugee now. What's with that woman? As you can see, she's a woman who's being hunted. She has angel blood, Yonggwa said. That's too simple. Be more specific. That's all I know. Who's chasing her? Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Kill the person who's chasing her. Are you a man or not? She and I are friends. Let's not talk about the fact that I don't know who's after her. Even if I knew, it's none of my business. Besides, I might not be able to deal with the people who are after her. Do you want to help me? If you don't care, then why should I care? At most, I'll provide you with a place to stay. If anyone comes to harass you within the boundaries of my home, I'll help you deal with it. But once you leave this area, you can do whatever you want. If we don't get rid of the people who are after Layli, won't she have to stay here for a long time? Long term? You're wrong. I have at most a week. Within a week, you can either find help from your fellow disciples or get the hell out of here, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. A week? How can we make it in time? Yonggwa panicked. He was actually very strong, but his battle prowess was very average. Even the two people he faced today. He was clearly stronger than the other party, but he didn't dare to face him head-on. Chen Zhao was unmoved by Yonggwa's cries. Anyway, he wouldn't leave a person who was against his family in his home. Taking them in for a week was to return Zhang Tiany's favor. How about we make a bet? Yonggwa had an idea. He looked at Chen Zhao with a smile on his face. What bet? Let's bet. If you can't hit me, I'll stand still. If you can injure me within 3 moves, I lose, Yonggwa said confidently. Yonggwa said confidently, if you don't injure me within 3 moves, I'll consider it my win. Little Yang, Chen Zhao said in a strange tone. At the same time, he patted Yonggwa's shoulder. Don't call me Little Yang. Fine, Guer. Just call me Little Yang. Little Yang, look at this dragon's head. I killed it. Are you sure you can take it? Yonggwa was very confident in his heart. Back then, he'd withstood his father-in-law's beating for an entire day. After an entire day, he'd at most suffered some light injuries. It was just a drizzle. He didn't believe that Chen Zhao could injure him within 3 moves. Nevertheless, Yonggwa also grasped Chen Zhao's thoughts. Since Chen Zhao had the ability to kill dragons, he must be very confident in his own abilities. He definitely didn't think that Yonggwa could take his attacks. I'm very sure. What if you lose? If I lose, you can do whatever you want to me. What do you mean by that? Even if I wanted to kill you, the people from Dragon Tiger Mountain would come looking for trouble. You're not sincere at all. Chen Zhao's face was full of disdain. He didn't want to kill Yonggwa. Killing him would bring him trouble. So, Yonggwa's bet didn't benefit Chen Zhao at all. Yonggwa thought for a moment and said, then I'll do whatever you want. What do you think? How long? A year. That's not short, right? Sounds good. Chen Zhao nodded. It would be a waste not to take a free laborer. Chen Zhao didn't like Yonggwa. But since it was free, he had no reason to reject. Then if you lose, you have to give Lily at least a year. Yonggwa's face finally revealed a proud smile, no longer hiding his thoughts. It was as if he was mocking Chen Zhao for falling into his trap. Sure. Chen Zhao nodded. Yonggwa took a deep breath. Wait a moment. I'll make some preparations. Go ahead. Tell me when you're ready. With that, Chen Zhao picked up his phone. I'll make a call too. Chen Zhao called Zhang Tianyi. Old Zhang, your disciple said he wants to bet with me. He wants to see if I can break his defense in 3 moves. Why did you call the Grandmaster? Yang Guo looked at Chen Zhao in shock. Zhang Tianyi's face darkened. Give the phone to Yang Guo. Yang Guo took the phone and said timidly, Hello, Grandmaster. Are you out of your mind? Grandmaster, I'm confident. Please don't scold me. What confidence do you have? Admit defeat right now. I'm really confident. You're not even fully grown yet and you're already challenging everywhere. Grandmaster, I know what I'm doing. After saying that, Yang Guo directly hung up the phone. Chen Zhao, how can you be like this? Calling the Grandmaster completely messed with my mind. I can't even use 10% of my strength now. Then I only need 1 move. If you can block one of my moves, I'll admit defeat. Fine, you said it. Don't go back on your word. Yang Guo threw the phone back to Chen Zhao. Sikong Starlord, 6th grade of the middle stage, please issue a decree. Come. Yang Guo shouted and threw the talisman into the air. Chapter 1887. The 6th pure Sikong Lord was the middle stage of the 3 celestial lords, the main sect. The other 2 celestial lords were the Void Spirit Kai Lord and the Chu Xing Si Lu Lord. In Taoism, the 3 celestial lords corresponded to heaven, earth, and man. They were also known as essence, qi, and spirit. Heaven was empty, earth was blue, and man was dust. The 6th pure Sikong Lord belonged to man and was in charge of defense. This god's decree was to use external qi to temporarily buff one's body. The talisman ignited in the air, turning into a wisp of smoke and dissipating. The smoke turned into a faint shadow in the air and instantly entered Yang Guo's body. After God's decree was done, Yang Guo didn't stop. He cast a second buff. Chen Zhao picked up the phone again. Old Zhang, your disciple's spell looks really cool. How much strength do I need to use? I don't know. Chen Zhao, don't kill my disciple, or I'll never let you off. I don't know how to control my strength. I'm not confident. Chen Zhao, I have a false life substitute talisman. I'll give it to you. I'll try to control my strength. Chen Zhao glanced at Yang Guo and put away the phone. Done. By now, Yang Guo had already cast 5 defensive spells. Come. Yang Guo crooked his finger. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Pooh, og. Yang Guo spat out a mouthful of blood. Immediately, a huge force pierced through Yang Guo's body. Like a cannonball, Yang Guo flew out of the cliff in an arc. It had been a long time since Chen Zhao had touched such solid flesh with his fist. He'd used 30% of his normal strength in that punch. He didn't dare to use too much strength, but it seemed that Yang Guo could take at least 50% of his strength. Of course, even 30% of his strength was enough to heavily injure Yang Guo. Yang Guo flew more than 100 meters in the air. Then he fell into the sea with a splash. Yang Guo floated on the surface of the sea just like that. Right now, Yang Guo had completely lost consciousness. His body and mind were both injured. Chen Zhao's punch had dazed him. He'd never been injured like this before. No one had been able to break through his defense with 1 punch. Swish, 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 swish. Just then, Yang Guo's phone rang. Yang Guo took out his phone slowly. Boy, how was it? Did you feel good? Zhang Tianyi's gloating tone gave Yang Guo another blow. Grandmaster, you already knew. I warned you long ago, but you didn't listen. Even I don't dare to take a punch from Chen Zhao. Where did you get the courage to fight him? Don't look for excuses. Since you're willing to bet, you have to accept your loss. Whatever you lost to him, you have to fulfill your promise honestly. Zhang Tianyi believed that Chen Zhao would give him face and not make things too difficult for his immature disciple. But with Chen Zhao's bad personality, if he didn't get anything from Yang Guo, he probably wouldn't give Yang Guo anything good either. Yang Guo felt stifled. He now understood what it meant to be a pretentious prick. Unfortunately, he was the one who started it. Now, he had to swallow this bitter pill himself. Yang Guo returned to the Mingyue villa and sat on the ground dejectedly. Chen Zhao had a smile on his face. I won just now, right? You win. Although Yang Guo was very unwilling, he still didn't want to admit defeat. Yang Guo wasn't satisfied, but he could only accept it. A loss was a loss. I didn't use my real power, Yang Guo added. Yang Guo added, that was a moment of carelessness. Otherwise, you definitely wouldn't have been able to break through my defense. Come, I'll give you another chance. Use your real power and let's fight again. Chen Zhao didn't mind at all. He'd roughly tested Yang Guo's strength with that one sentence. One had to admit that Yang Guo's defense was very shocking. He was even stronger than the dragons Chen Zhao knew. Chen Zhao's punch could kill a dragon in an instant. But he only injured Yang Guo. Chen Zhao didn't know how strong Yang Guo was, but his defense was ridiculously strong. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, Yang Guo cursed inwardly. Chen Zhao didn't give him any face at all. He was just being polite. In the end, Chen Zhao didn't even give him a chance. I'm injured. After I recover, I'll fight you again. Yang Guo turned to leave. Which room am I in? I'll take you there. Chen Zhao brought Yang Guo to the door. This is your room. Yang Guo pushed the door open and entered. 3 seconds later, Yang Guo ran out of the room pathetically. Chen Zhao, you're too much. What's wrong? Rayleigh's in the room. Perfect. I'll create a chance for you. I'm a man with a family. You don't even know how to enjoy having multiple partners. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. Then you can stay opposite. At night, Chen Zhao waited until everyone was asleep before rising into the sky again. When he reached a certain height, he used heaven and man coexistence. Chen Zhao's power kept spreading. The entire small world was enveloped in the swirling air currents. There were no clouds in the sky, so no matter how fast the air flowed, there wouldn't be any weather effects. The yin-yang fish in Chen Zhao's body kept spinning and growing stronger. However, after forming the yin-yang fish and stabilizing it, his cultivation speed slowed down. Every day, he would cultivate until the sun appeared at the end of the sky. Of course, it was much faster to see the sun from tens of thousands of meters in the sky than on the ground. Chen Zhao returned to the ground and started cultivating, absorbing and converting immortal power. Chen Zhao's cultivation was divided into 2 parts. The first was to absorb cosmic rays and cultivate yin energy. Then, he would absorb the spiritual qi in the world and convert it into immortal power, cultivating yang energy. Mingyue Villa had the immortal's inner core that old turtle had left behind, so Chen Zhao could directly absorb the immortal power from it and convert it into his own. This process was much faster than directly absorbing the spiritual qi in the world and converting it into immortal power. After a day of cultivation, it was almost time for breakfast. Early in the morning, Chen Zhao saw Yang Guo walk out of the room in high spirits. Looks like you've recovered well. Chen Zhao glanced at Yang Guo. Of course. No matter how serious my injuries are, I can completely recover in 3 days. Last night's minor injuries are enough for me to recover in 1 night, Yonggwa said proudly. What's for breakfast? Youtiao and soy milk. Do you want it? You can eat youtiao and soy milk here. Yonggwa asked in surprise. If you want to eat, help yourself. I won't help you get it. Yonggwa came and left in a hurry. He only came back with breakfast. Just then, Lily also woke up. Looking at her face, she didn't seem to have slept well last night. This was understandable. After all, to her, this place was like hell. It was filled with a demonic aura. Chapter 1888. The last thing Chen Zhao's family would do was give in to outsiders. Chen Zhao would protect Riley, but he wouldn't give in to her. If she wanted to stay, she could stay. If not, she could leave. Reluctantly, Riley sat down for breakfast. Chen Zhao's family frolicked at the breakfast table. Riley didn't say anything. Portia was here to get free food and drinks again. Boss, who are they? Friends. Portia walked over to Yonggwa and Riley. Hi, I'm Portia. Hi. Yonggwa shook hands with Portia. Riley was a silent person. She didn't say anything. Portia didn't mind either. She was used to all kinds of strange people in Chen Zhao's family. Not long after Feilai went to work, Denver and Alex came. Mr. Chen, long time no see, Denver greeted Chen Zhao. Here's this month's financial report. Take a look. Chen Zhao always had a headache with numbers. After seeing the signature and stamp of the finance department, he continued reading. Chen Zhao had Ash Roford move from the sales department to the finance department. He was Chen Zhao's man, so he could be Chen Zhao's spy. It wasn't that Chen Zhao didn't trust Denver, even though he'd given him almost all the power. However, he still had to do the necessary financial reconciliation. Ash Roford was still on parole. But according to the work the company had given him and the evaluation report, his original one-year sentence was reduced to half a year. Apparently, after his sentence was over, he planned to fight for custody of his daughter. When he divorced his wife, he'd had problems with his finances and work. Because of that, he'd lost custody of his daughter. Coupled with the kidnapping at the airport, he'd been convicted for endangering public safety. He didn't even have visitation rights or the right to leave the country. But with Chen Zhao's help, his life was back on track. So, Ash Roford was completely loyal to Chen Zhao now. It was common practice for a shareholder to send a financial officer to the company. Denver wouldn't be unhappy because of this. Last month's profit seems to have increased again, Chen Zhao said. Yes, because of the increase in production, the market share has increased, and the cost has been greatly reduced. That's why the profits are so high. Denver explained, however, this is basically the highest profit we can achieve with our current production. Our company's beer production is still a problem. We can't solve the problem of production for now. After all, the water used is from Mirror Lake. Mirror Lake can't be drained. Denver also understood this logic. In addition, Dashin beer was now popular, largely because of hunger marketing. Dashin beer was always in short supply when it came to market demand. As a result, Dashin beer would often be sold out within 4 to 5 days. For the next few days, they were out of stock. What's our current plan for beer? Chen Zhao asked. What we need to do now is to maintain the market share, stabilize the market, and increase the advertising, Denver said. Although Dashin beer was very popular, almost everyone knew about it. However, for beverage products, advertising has always been indispensable. For example, the largest cola company in the past once thought that their product was famous enough, so they stopped investing in advertising for a year. In the end, the product sales dropped by 60% that year. It was also the only time that the second cola brand surpassed the first in sales. Denver also focused on stability. As always, Chen Zhao supported Denver's decision. As long as Denver didn't make any stupid decisions, Chen Zhao wouldn't interfere with his company's management and development strategy. Chen Zhao's income last month was $150 million. After reading it, he gave the bill to Alex. She was in charge of checking the accounts and legal verification. Alex glanced at the number on the bill and grinned. A while ago, she thought that Chen Zhao's customized yacht was too extravagant. Now, she felt that Chen Zhao's money came too easily. Auntie Alex. Little Jerlin ran in from outside and jumped onto Alex's body. Alex picked up little Jerlin and teased her. Little Jerlin, you've grown heavier again. Are you planning to become a big fatty? No, I'm growing taller. Plus, I swim every day. Alex wasn't worried about Jerlin's growth at all. Chen Zhao was indeed very good at children's growth. Jerlin wasn't the only one who was growing well. The other children were all rosy and energetic too. Auntie. Hug. Little Larissa followed Alex's lead and reached out for a hug as well. Alex picked them up one by one. Little Larissa still remembers me. Little Larissa took out a lollipop from her pocket. Auntie, eat. The candy Chen Zhao gave Jerlin and Larissa were all lollipops like this. If they choked on it, they could pull it out immediately. The other children and even the pets could handle it. If it was a regular candy, it would be very troublesome if they choked on it. Children liked to eat sweets mainly because they needed it for growth. As long as they didn't overeat, Chen Zhao wouldn't stop them. Plus, it wasn't like the family didn't have money. Denver was a workaholic, so he went back to the company after checking the accounts. Alex stayed to play with the children. Chen, you said last time that there's a big project next year. As long as I have the money, you'll let me in. Is that true? You have money. Chen Zhao turned his head and looked at Alex. I don't, but you do. Alex looked at Chen Zhao. I'll borrow some money at the bank's interest rate. How much do you want? 500 million, Alex said. Okay. Chen Zhao nodded. To put it simply, the project in Chen Zhao's plan was to share the benefits and share the profits equally. If Chen Zhao was alone, he definitely couldn't make the project big. In front of such huge benefits, everyone would be jealous. Both the government and the industry would suppress him. The best choice was to share the benefits equally. There was strength in numbers. Apart from being Chen Zhao's family, Alex also had a huge amount of legal resources. This was also the power Chen Zhao needed. So, Chen Zhao had no reason to reject Alex's participation. It was just borrowing money. Apart from depreciating, it had no other use. So, if the bank could borrow money, he could do it too. Portia was already cursing Chen Zhao's monthly income of more than 100 million. She ate her sandwich hatefully, as if she wanted to make Chen Zhao poor. Chapter 1889. Congratulations, boss. You've made a lot of money again. Portia licked her lips as she walked over. He planned to say a few good words and see if he could erase the debt. If you want to borrow money, you can, according to the bank's interest rate. If you want to go back on your word, you can jump into the sea. What do you want to talk to me about? It's fine. Portia decisively turned around and left. Sure enough, he was thinking too much. He was too stupid to talk about money with Chen Zhao. Just then, Portia's phone rang. Portia picked up the phone and handed it to Chen Zhao. Boss, it's a call from Seagate Yachts. Hey, it's Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao took the phone. The person who called was Oliver Lerby. They could be considered old acquaintances. Mr. Chen, the headquarters sent a message saying that the construction of your yacht has begun. The higher-ups would like to invite you to visit the headquarters and check on the progress of the yacht. As an important client of Seagate, the company had also secretly investigated his assets. However, because Mountain Beer wasn't listed, Seagate didn't know his exact assets. But through the bank, they knew that Chen Zhao had some cash. In terms of net worth, let's not talk about the hidden tycoons in this world. He wasn't even in the top 30 on the Forbes list. But in terms of cash, Chen Zhao was definitely in the top 10. Moreover, Chen Zhao's money had entered the bank account openly. This meant that Chen Zhao's money came from a legitimate source. If it was that kind of black money or illegal income, it would not be easy for them to find out. Because of this, the executives of Seagate Yachts wanted to get close to Chen Zhao. I don't have time recently, Chen Zhao said. Mr. Chen, you don't have to reject me so quickly. There's still a long time before the yacht is built anyway. Our company headquarters welcomes you at any time. Okay. If I have time, I'll go. Chen Zhao didn't make any promises. Boss, Italy is quite interesting, especially Rome. There are many scenic spots. Do you want to go? If you want to go, then go. Also, help me check the progress of my yacht construction. I think I'll pass, Portia hurriedly refused. Italy could be said to be a major producer of luxury goods. This country didn't have much else, but it had a lot of luxury brands. Portia didn't dare to imagine whether she would lose her mind if she went to Italy. It was a repeat of what had happened in Tokyo, Japan. When she was in Tokyo, Japan, she had already owed a huge sum of money. If he went to Italy again, he would definitely have to file for bankruptcy. If Chen Zhao wanted to go, she could go with him. But if she went alone, she could probably sell herself in Italy. Ignoring the babbling Portia, Chen Zhao changed into his swimming trunks and went to exercise. At the same time, on the outskirts of the Bright Moon Villa, a man holding an optical telescope stood in the forest on a steep slope. There were two other people standing beside this person. They were the man and woman who had attacked Lily and Yongguo last night. How is it, Deuce? No, we can't barge in. That manner is very dangerous. Deuce shook his head. Even if all of us work together, it won't work. No. Dosei said with certainty, the master there is very powerful. He is not on the same level as us. The woman who was good at fighting frowned and said, then use that thing. Deuce shook his head again. The holy spear is still unable to unleash its true power. It won't be of any use against an enemy like that. This won't do, that won't do. What should I do? Deuce suddenly put away the telescope. The other two looked at Deuce in surprise. What's wrong? We've been discovered, Deuce said seriously. Let's go. The other two were doubtful about Deuce. However, they still obeyed his order and left. Deuce, we are at least 5 kilometers from the coastline. How can we be discovered? I don't know. Deuce's expression was serious. That Asian is very powerful. Even from so far away, he is still looking in this direction. Chen Zhao had indeed discovered that someone was watching him. However, he had only discovered the exact direction. The person had reacted quickly. Also, because it was a green mountain and the person was hiding in the forest, Chen Zhao had not been able to capture the person's tracks immediately. Chen Zhao's small world was only 1,000 meters in diameter. The person was hiding more than 1,000 meters away. Chen Zhao could not pinpoint the exact location. If it was within the small world, then anyone who entered would be able to sense it. Chen Zhao could sense their every move. However, the gaze was very unfamiliar. It was probably not someone Chen Zhao knew. Therefore, it was very likely that the person was here for Lily and Yonghua. Deuce, we've proposed a few plans, but you've rejected all of them. What do you think we should do? Spirit Fox, I'm not opposing you on purpose, but it's too risky. I can sense how dangerous that man is. If we choose to attack forcefully, we might incur a fierce counterattack. This is North America. How strong can there be? In the last 2 battles of the Holy Glory, not even a single spiritualist from North America participated. Can this kind of magic desert really produce any strong people? Don't underestimate any region, Deuce said calmly. You never know how many terrifying existences are hidden in the dark. Then what do you think we should do? Spirit Fox asked, dissatisfied. No one can stay in one place forever, Deuce said. That Asian can't, and neither can our target. We just have to wait patiently. I don't like waiting. Deuce looked at the other person. Beast, we don't have to take the risk. However, Beast did not think so. Beast held a long object wrapped in white cloth in his hand. It looked like some kind of weapon. The white cloth was stained with blood. The holy spear has already sucked the blood of dozens of spiritualists. It can kill anyone now. I don't think we should hold back for an Asian. Deuce glanced at Beast. If you think I'm wrong, you can try. Beast and Deuce looked at Spirit Fox. Spirit Fox hesitated, but in the end, she still chose to support Beast. She was also more inclined to attack directly instead of holding back and running away. Deuce was somewhat disappointed with the two's choices. However, he clearly did not intend to continue persuading them. I hope you won't regret your choices. Deuce turned and left. Spirit Fox and Beast exchanged glances. Beast really wanted to stab Deuce in the back. Chapter 1890. Deuce stopped in his tracks again. Don't try to do anything behind my back. I can see it. I'm also one of the wielder of the Holy Spear, so the Spear of Longinus is useless against me. Deuce was warning the two of them. The Holy Spear wrapped in white cloth in Beast's hand felt warm. Although the Holy Spear was called the Holy Spear, it was more like a demon's weapon. The more blood it sucked, the stronger it became. You better be careful. This Holy Spear might not be the Spear of Longinus. As for whether it has the ability to kill gods, no one can be sure, Deuce warned. With that, Deuce strode away, no longer caring about his two companions. Beast and Spirit Fox looked at each other. The Spear of Longinus. The legendary Holy Spear. The weapon that had stabbed YS and was stained with the blood of gods. It was a coincidence that Beast and Spirit Fox had obtained this weapon. It was as if a mysterious hand had personally delivered the sacred spear into their hands. This holy spear did not belong to any of them. Instead, it was shared among the three of them. However, if one of them gave it up, they would lose the right to own it. Ever since the holy spear fell into their hands, they started killing. The holy spear would tell them who to kill. With each kill, the holy spear's power would increase slightly. In the beginning, the spiritualists they killed were weak, incompetent, and unknown spiritualists. But as time passed, the spiritualists they killed became stronger and stronger. Their power also increased with the growth of the holy spear. In a few years, they had killed dozens of spiritualists. The holy spear had given them different powers. This time, the target that the holy spear wanted them to kill was Lily. Beast and Spirit Fox were both very aggressive. Moreover, as their strength continued to grow, their ambitions were also further increased. But the difference was that Deuce had always been calm. Even if he was constantly gaining power from the Holy Spear, he still kept his cool. He had hinted to Spirit Fox and Beast many times. This was not the real Spear of Longinus. The legendary Holy Spear would not ask them to kill people continuously. Moreover, most of the people they had killed were not bad people. Some of the spiritualists that they had killed could even be considered good people. But Spirit Fox and Beast still firmly believed that the spiritualists that they had killed had sins that outsiders did not know about. Killing them was actually putting them on trial. They represented the will of the sacred spear, the will of God. They were the chosen and chosen apostles of God. Of course, most importantly, they were enjoying the extreme pleasure brought by the sacred spear. That kind of power that could easily make people stronger made them unable to stop. As they watched Dose leave, they all sensed the message transmitted by the sacred spear. Deuce was no longer the wielder of the Holy Spear. Right now, there were only two wielders of the Holy Lance: Spirit Foxes and Wild Beasts. The power that had been bestowed upon Dose had also been stripped away. This power was divided among the Spirit Foxes and Wild Beasts. Once again, the two of them felt an even greater power. Although it was one person's power that was split into two. However, after this power fused into their bodies, it made them more than twice as strong as before. The two of them were completely immersed in this power. An irresistible pleasure spread to every corner of their bodies. Their breaths were filled with pleasure. His choice was indeed correct. That was foolish of Deucer. He actually chose to give up his identity as the holder of the sacred spear. As the Spirit Fox and Wild Beast grew stronger, the two of them became more confident about their next target. As expected, Deuce looked at his hands. It did not feel good to have his power stripped away. Deuce could not get used to this feeling of vanity. However, his choice today was also his first attempt. Compared to the Spirit Fox and Wild Beast, Deuce was very cautious. He wanted to be sure. If he gave up on the sacred spear, what would happen? He also discovered that after the power was stripped away, his body had clearly appeared on an unknown bed. It seemed that this power had some sort of affinity with his body and soul. If he continued, the sacred spear would give him even more power. Then, this power would fuse with his body and soul to a greater extent. At that time, he would no longer be able to escape the control of the sacred spear. At that time, they would no longer be wielders of the spear, but servants of the sacred spear. Those two pitiful fellows. They thought they had picked up a bargain. In fact, they only sped up the process. Deuce had always been suspicious. Killing those spiritualists one after another. This could very well be a conspiracy. The sacred spear's origin was too strange. Deuce did not believe that there was such a thing as a free lunch in this world. However, the Spirit Fox and Wild Beast still did not believe him. Or rather, they actually had their own suspicions. They just did not want to face this possibility. Deuce did not pity those he had killed before. He just did not want to become a puppet for a weapon. Chen Zhao, Rayleigh isn't feeling well. Go and take a look. Yang Gua came again. Chen Zhao entered Rayleigh's bedroom and immediately felt that her breathing was very unstable. What's wrong with her? Her bloodline seems to be out of control. What if it's out of control? What do you think will happen? You mean she'll lose her mind and attack us randomly? That's right. In other words, I can kill her justifiably. Don't joke around, okay? I asked you to treat her, not to kill her. Chen Zhao walked to Rayleigh's side. Rayleigh lay on the bed. Under her skin, a faint white glow flowed through her blood vessels. Chen Zhao's heart suddenly jumped. Demons hated angelic crystals the most. Would angels also reject demonic crystals? Chen Zhao took out a demonic crystal. As expected, the moment the demonic crystal approached Rayleigh, Rayleigh's body convulsed instantly. She seemed to be in extreme pain. And under her skin, the blood vessels were restored. It seemed to be effective. The aura of the demonic crystal suppressed the angel's power. Of course, it was not accurate to say that it was suppressed. More accurately, it was scared away. Rayleigh's angelic bloodline rejected the aura of the demonic crystal. After the angelic bloodline faded, Rayleigh woke up. What's wrong with me? Rayleigh opened her eyes and looked at Chen Zhao and Yanghua. Chen Zhao used the demonic crystal to approach Rayleigh again. This time, Rayleigh did not reject it. How do you feel about this? Chen Zhao asked. Disgust, Rayleigh said without hesitation. Even though the angelic bloodline had faded, the disgust from the bottom of her heart could not be completely eliminated. Chapter 1891. Rayleigh was under Chen Zhao's protection. But she knew one thing very well. She wouldn't stay here for long. Everything here didn't fit her. Chen Zhao's attitude toward her was also very cold. The atmosphere in Mingyue Villa was lively. The children were frolicking on the beach. But none of this had anything to do with her. Chen Zhao lay on the beach and sunbathed. Just then, West called. President, we'll leave for the African plains tomorrow. Got it. I'll go there tomorrow. By the way, President, there's another news. What? Last night, another cruise ship sank on the east coast. Chen Zhao perked up. What's the exact location? The cruise started from Miami and went around the world. Its next stop was Boston, but when it passed longitude 32. 7552, latitude 69. 3554, it suddenly stopped and lost signal. The Coast Guard sent people to investigate and found that half of the cruise had sunk into the sea. It completely sank after 4 hours. No survivors were found nearby. There were 898 crew members and tourists on the cruise. That location should be very close to the Bermuda Sea, right? About 1,300 kilometers, West said. Demons did it. It's very likely, West said. What's the government's reaction? According to my sources, the higher-ups should be very anxious. After all, 2 cruises have sunk in a month. They've already asked the military to make a statement. What about the psionic team? Chen Zhao asked. President, it won't be that fast, West explained patiently. Not everyone in the upper echelons of the government knows about the existence of the supernatural world, and not everyone has any contact with it. Only a small number of people actually know about it, especially those who are involved in politics. They are not allowed to come into contact with the supernatural world, and they are even forbidden from knowing anything about it. Many things that are reported to them will be treated as terrorist attacks. Right now, the upper echelons of the government believe that the 2 shipwrecks are terrorist attacks, which is why they are reporting it to the military. Only a small portion of the military knows about the supernatural world, so it has to be passed down level by level until it reaches the ears of someone who knows about it or is in charge of it. Then, this person will plan the operation. It's hard to say how long it will take for it to reach the Anti-Terrorism Security Department. Furthermore, this incident happened on the East Coast, so it's not under the jurisdiction of the Anti-Terrorism Security Department. West paused for a moment before adding, now, it depends on how strong the government's reaction is, as well as the level of threat from the relevant departments. If it's a high level, then it's very likely that we'll be the ones to take responsibility. After all, we're the department in charge of dealing with supernatural incidents. Given how much Mansari hates the supernatural organization, Chen Zhao said, he won't allow us to accept such a high-level mission. That's right, West said. So my guess is that they'll probably work together. The supernatural organization and the psionic team will work together. If there's trouble, we'll take all the responsibility, because we're the official department. They can say that the psionic team is just supporting them, but if they get any results, they'll probably take the fruit. After all, we don't have much say in the higher-ups. Chen Zhao thought about it and said, then we'll be more forceful. Either we act on our own, or they do it on their own. President, I think it's acceptable. If they want to work together, we'll do as they wish. Their only request is to accept our command. If they refuse, we'll have a good reason to refuse. To West, there were always two sides to every coin. If they dare to accept our command, their lives will be in our hands. If they refuse our command during the mission, we'll even have the right to punish them. You guys will go to the African plains tomorrow. I'll be the only one there. If the government's order came during this time, Chen Zhao would have to face it alone. Chen Zhao thought about it and hoped that he could do it during this time. It was much more convenient for him to act alone than for the supernatural organization to work together. Plus, he didn't know anything about the situation in Bermuda. The only situation Chen Zhao knew was that there was a big demon inside. As for how strong it was, Chen Zhao couldn't be sure. From the few times he'd interacted with demons from Bermuda, Chen Zhao guessed that the big demon wasn't weak. Chen Zhao vaguely guessed that the demon wasn't weak. And if that great demon's strength was close to his, it might not be good for others to come. He didn't even have time to protect them. Yang, don't you go to work every day? Yang Guo wasn't used to Chen Zhao calling him that. But at least it was better than Guo. Yang Guo was very resistant to being called Guo. Yang Guo was very resistant to being called Guo. In the whole world, only Zhang Tianyi could call him that. It was not because Yang Guo was willing to accept it, but because Zhang Tianyi did not care about his personal feelings at all. I'm from Longhu Mountains North American Resident Office. I'm responsible for contacting some people. Nothing will happen in a month. I'm envious of people like you who have nothing to do every day, lying down and receiving your salary. Yang Guo glanced at Chen Zhao. I'm more envious of you. You also lie down every day and earn more than $100 million every month. Do you think I'm happy? What are you unhappy about? No, I'm really happy. Yang Guo rolled his eyes. If you really envy me, then be my henchman. I'll give you twice the salary of Mount Longhu. Then forget it. I'm used to being undisciplined. Even if Yang Guo agreed, Chen Zhao was just asking casually. Chen Zhao didn't even know how to use him. Does your Mount Longhu have any unique techniques? Let me see. Since it's unique, why do you think I can show it to you? Hey, old Zhang, your disciple is disobedient. Can I feed him to the sharks? Seeing that Chen Zhao was going to complain to Zhang Tianyi again, Yang Guo said disapprovingly, the Grand Master won't agree either. Your Grand Master wants to talk to you. Chen Zhao handed the phone to Yang Guo. Yang Guo glanced at Chen Zhao and took the phone. Grand Master, Chen Zhao wants me to show him Mount Longhu's unique technique. I think he wants to learn it secretly. If he wants to see it, then let him. Cut the crap. But, he won't understand, Zhang Tianyi said confidently. Chapter 1892. It was just as Zhang Tianyi had said. Chen Zhao couldn't understand at all. Because Chen Zhao didn't follow the Daoist cultivation method. Unless Yang Guo told Chen Zhao all the methods. Otherwise, Chen Zhao wouldn't be able to learn it just by demonstration. Chen Zhao wasn't a genius who could learn it just by seeing it once. Zhang Tianyi knew this, and so did Chen Zhao. But Chen Zhao didn't want to learn Dragon Tiger Mountain's unique spells. Instead, he wanted to find some cultivation inspiration or enlightenment from their unique magic arts. What Chen Zhao wanted was not a technique, but an epiphany. Yang Guo returned the phone to Chen Zhao, embarrassed. Chen Zhao, what spell do you want to see? How would I know? As long as you don't teach it to others, just show me. I don't know a lot. I mainly cultivate Daoist spells that are derived from the yin and yang twin. What's yin and yang twin? My spell is a body-refining spell, but I can't achieve yin and yang twin. I can only withstand yin qi or yang qi alone, so I can only use it alone. My normal state is yang birth, while yin death will cause me to lose my mind. Every time I use it, it's extremely damaging to my body, so I only use it when the Grandmaster is around, Yang Guo said. Yang Guo said, all of my magic arts are based on the foundation of yin and yang. Chen Zhao thought about it. Wasn't this like splitting the God Strike into two parts? Not everyone could cultivate the God Strike. After all, the God Strike used the spiritual qi of heaven and earth and the energy of the universe to temper the body. The magic cultivated from the spiritual qi was yang qi, while the energy of the universe was yin qi. The yin-death collision was like absorbing the energy of the universe into the body, but it couldn't achieve yin and yang twin. So, the final result was more yin and less yang. It was just like the Daoist saying, take what's in excess and make up for what's lacking. It was understandable that the yin-death state would harm the body. Then I'll cast the spell in the yang birth state first. Okay. First, I'll ask for God's decree. I've shown it to you before. Yang Guo took out a yellow talisman. Holding it between his fingers, he chanted. God, please issue a decree. After the yellow talisman turned to ash, the surrounding heaven and earth spiritual energy faintly contained a trace of spiritual light that entered Yang Guo's body. Yang Guo's body was instantly covered by the light. The strength of his body increased a little. Chen Zhao looked at Yang Guo's body. He could feel that Yang Guo had indeed become stronger. However, Chen Zhao could feel the trick to this spell. That talisman should be the key. In fact, the spirit talisman was just a medium, through which the surrounding heaven and earth spiritual qi could be absorbed. The moment the talisman was ignited, the heaven and earth spiritual qi was quickly gathered and attached to the surface of Yang Guo's body. Actually, it was similar to how Chen Zhao channeled the spiritual qi into someone else's body. However, not everyone could control the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Therefore, he needed to use the talisman as a medium, and at the same time, combine it with the dermic seal to complete this spell. However, this spell was completely useless against Chen Zhao. First of all, if the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was not transformed into mana and absorbed into the body, it would cause harm to the body. The more he used it, the more he would get hurt. Without Chen Zhao's powerful body, even someone with Zhang Tianyi's cultivation would be injured. For example, Navat Singh had borrowed Chen Zhao's power back then. In the end, he had been lying in the hospital for more than half a month and had only been discharged a few days ago. Therefore, this spell was useless against Chen Zhao. Yang Guo's invocation didn't give Chen Zhao any inspiration either. Continue with the next spell. I'll show you how to borrow power. Yang Guo took a deep breath and his body shook slightly. Chen Zhao realized that Yang Guo's aura had changed. Yang Guo's aura became somewhat ethereal, like dust and smoke. Immediately, Yongguo's palm slapped toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao clearly saw a palm made of smoke land on his chest. However, the palm didn't hurt him at all. Like a gentle breeze, it swept past Chen Zhao and lifted his clothes. Chen Zhao touched his chest. It was a strange feeling. Yongguo didn't seem to have used a spell just now. He didn't even use any powerful force. However, he could clearly see the wind from his palm. That attack didn't hurt him, but that was also because Yongguo didn't really attack. Chen Zhao could also send out fist shadows. However, Chen Zhao's fist shadows were created when his strength and speed reached a certain level. It was like the arc of a falling meteor or the light and shadow created by the friction between a falling celestial body and the air. The fist shadows were purely a physical phenomenon. If one didn't have enough strength or speed, they wouldn't be able to get rid of the fist shadows. But Yongguo's palm wind was so light, yet he could clearly see the palm wind. This confused Chen Zhao. He looked at Yongguo in confusion. "What's that spell called?" Chen Zhao asked. After a moment of silence, Yongguo said, "It's called borrowing power." "I think you should call it the melancholic palm," Chen Zhao said. "No, definitely not." Yongguo seemed to have guessed that Chen Zhao would say that. His reaction was extremely agitated and resistant. Pfft. Did someone give it this name in the past? Is it that old man Zhang Tianyi? Chen Zhao looked at Yongguo teasingly. Yongguo's face darkened. "I don't want to talk to you. What's the theory behind that?" Chen Zhao asked curiously. "I can't tell you. If you tell me the trick, I'll have our bet last time," Chen Zhao said. Yongguo hesitated for a moment. He didn't like to listen to others, but he had to abide by the bet. However, he had to abide by the bet. Zhang Tianyi had warned him. However, if he could reject the bet legitimately, it would be a chance for him to be free. Yongguo looked at Chen Zhao. 1 year. I want our bet to be cancelled. Chen Zhao squinted at Yongguo and sneered. Don't forget that you have to listen to me in this 1 year. Even if I don't promise anything, you have to agree to any of my requests. That's impossible. Why should I teach you Dragon Tiger Mountain's unique spell? Since you're using it to negotiate with me, it means that it's not a unique spell. Most likely, it was found by that old man Zhang Tianyi, just to make you worthy of the name Yongguo. So don't use it to bargain with me. My request, you have to agree to it whether you want to or not. Not to mention, you can't beat me. Yongguo was furious, but he couldn't retort. Just as Chen Zhao had said, this was indeed not a unique spell of Dragon Tiger Mountain. Okay, just accept my requests and we'll still be good friends. Chapter 1893. Yongguo sighed dejectedly. He really wanted to say, "I'll kill you." But considering the serious consequences, Yongguo still chose the words of the ancients. A man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. Not everyone can learn how to borrow power. Don't worry about whether I can learn it or not. Tell me the trick first. Borrowing power is to borrow the power of everything in the world. Everyone can borrow different things. Some people can borrow the power of wild beasts, some can borrow the power of mountains, rivers, and seas, some can borrow the power of wind and clouds, and some can borrow the power of water and fire. Yongguo waved his hand in front of him. A cloud of mist coiled in his palm, gathering and not dispersing. But in the end, he clenched his fist and the mist dissipated. Yongguo looked up and said, "My power is this ethereal mist. It's tangible but not tangible, tangible but boundless." What power does your power have? Chen Zhao really couldn't see the power of his power. I'm using softness to conquer hardness. Then show me, Chen Zhao said. Annoyed, Yang Gui yelled, are you asking me to teach you the trick or are you just bickering with me? Fine, continue. Chen Zhao shrugged. To learn how to borrow power, you first have to understand what power is, Yang Gui continued. Everything in the world has power. Living things have it, dead things have it too. With that, Yang Gui bent down and scooped up the surging seawater. This handful of water also has power. With that, Yang Gui returned the seawater to the waves. This wave also has power, this ocean also has power, and this world also has power. That's a bit of a big concept. Does the universe have power? Chen Zhao couldn't help but interrupt. Are you a contrarian? Yang Guo was furious. A good student should be able to deduce many things from one instance. This means that I'm a good student. Shouldn't you be proud to have a good student like me? Piss off. Fine, I won't talk anymore. Continue, there's a Chinese saying, unstoppable, unstoppable. This actually points to the essence, but very few can truly understand it. Yang Guo continued, force isn't unchanging. Force can change at any time and place. However, the secrets and techniques of force can be summarized in 4 words, Mountain of Fire. This sentence is from Japan, right? Get lost, this is from Sun Tzu's Art of War. Yang Guo scolded angrily, swift like the wind, gentle like the forest, aggressive like fire, immovable like a mountain, there are only these 4 types of power in the world. Sun Bin also knows how to practice power. I don't know if Sun Bin has cultivated force, but force was indeed comprehended from Sun Bin's Art of War. What's the most powerful force? Chen Zhao asked. There is no one type of power that is the most powerful. It only depends on how much power you can grasp and use. Yang Guo said. Swift as the wind, his movements were as fast as a hurricane. Su Rulin advanced slowly. His troops were as orderly as a dense forest. Invade like fire, invade and disturb, as fierce as raging fire, unstoppable. Immovable like a mountain, stationing troops to defend is as solid as a mountain, unshakable. You still haven't told me the most important thing. How do I practice power? Not practice, but comprehension. Comprehension, do you understand? Chen Zhao was most afraid of so-called comprehension. In the past, apart from regular training, he'd cultivated. Most of the time, he'd reached where he was today through his own deductions and predictions. This was completely different from Taoism's so-called comprehension. Comprehension was all about sudden inspiration. It was just that he suddenly understood. This was what Chen Zhao was the worst at. In the past, when Chen Zhao and Old Turtle communicated, Chen Zhao hated it the most. What annoyed Chen Zhao the most was that Old Turtle kept talking to him about the stream of consciousness. What did he mean by, you'll understand in the future, or, you need to figure it out yourself? How did you practice it? Chen Zhao asked again. Once, I broke the sect rules in the sect and was punished by the Grandmaster. I had to meditate in the tranquil heart hall for 10 days and 10 nights. One night, I saw the smoke rising from the incense in front of the 3 Pure One statues in the tranquil heart hall. Then, my understanding of momentum suddenly flashed through my mind. Then, I comprehended the momentum of dust and smoke. Yang Guo glanced at Chen Zhao. But not everyone can comprehend force. It requires a lot of talent. Even on Dragon Tiger Mountain, there aren't many people who can comprehend force. Talent. I'm stronger than you. Isn't that enough to prove my talent? Since you can practice it, I can too. Power doesn't mean everything. No, it means everything, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. With that, Chen Zhao suddenly clenched his fist and swung. A fist shadow tore through the air. The fist shadow landed heavily in the waves more than 20 meters away. There was a huge boom and a huge wave rose into the sky. This was power. Yang Guo was alarmed. No, the fist shadow looked domineering and powerful. But it didn't feel like power. It wasn't power. It was just a magic attack that looked similar. It's useless to scare me. I said that power doesn't mean everything. There are many seniors on Dragon Tiger Mountain who are stronger than me, but there are only a few who can truly comprehend power. Yang Guo still insisted on his point. If you want to comprehend power, you must first understand what your power is. If you can't even find your power, then it's just wishful thinking. Although Chen Zhao sounded tough, he didn't have much confidence. As for Yang Guo's words, Chen Zhao still remembered them. Find my power. Is my power the ocean? Chen Zhao turned to look at the ocean.